What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 161 of the Tastycast, a weekly podcast where we talk about random things in gaming. My name's Seth, and joining me today, of course, is Chevy. Chevy, hopefully you're doing well on this Wednesday night. We were going to record before, but we had some technical difficulties that I hope are figured out. So here we are, and we're recording, and hopefully it goes well. And before we kick off this Tastycast, talking about what games we've been playing, of course, we'll be talking about Lost Ark in probably quite a bit of detail. I'm sure we have a lot to say on it. There's some news that came out, kind of small, but I kind of wanted to get your take on it. Bioshock is going to be a movie, finally, officially. It is being done through Netflix. There's no details on it. There's no director. There's no one assigned to it yet. But Netflix has come out and said that they are teaming up with the people who own 2K, who own Bioshock, and that they are making a movie, not a series. And yeah, what do we think about that? And is there anything you would want from that? And how do you feel about Netflix taking that on?
I think Bioshock's already a movie.
True.
So, I suppose the rest of it's mostly just kind of irrelevant to me. I don't really care who's paying for it. So that part doesn't matter. As far as what I'd want for it to be, as long as it's just, it needs to be well written, obviously, but thematically still feels like Bioshock. Otherwise, they're just making a movie at that point. So
Yeah, I worry about it because I always felt like Bioshock, I've said this multiple times on the channel, I always felt like Bioshock could be a great movie. It's got everything you need for a good movie. It's got a really cool setting. It's got a cool story. It's got, outside the gameplay, I'm not the biggest fan of in the Bioshock games, but everything else about them I really like. And so it's always seemed like it'd be a really good movie, but I feel like you need a director who respects the property, which I would make that argument for any video game movie, but some of them I'm less worried about than others. But also, you kind of nailed it. I feel like there is some deeper thoughts, almost some philosophical thoughts that go into a lot of like the logs that you go through in Bioshock to kind of get a background on why somebody would have the ambition of making Rapture or was it Columbia? And those things are one of the things you can kind of sink your teeth into when it comes to the lore of these games. And a movie doesn't have enough time to maybe dive into that, but it could, like if you had Denis Villeneuve or something make it, but he would never make that. But if somebody doesn't respect the property that much, it's all going to be visuals, and it's going to be less of making sure you have written a good screenplay for it. So I am kind of worried about that. But the biggest thing I'm worried about when it comes to this movie, and I would be pro Bioshock movie, I have been, under the right circumstances. The biggest thing that worries me is Netflix making it, because Netflix makes a lot of stuff nowadays, and most of it feels like, whether it's for adults or children, it all feels like it's made for like teenagers. It all feels sterile, feels soulless, in my opinion. And the idea of them taking on, and they've had a couple good things. Midnight Mass was really good, like really good. Mike Flanagan is fantastic at most things he does, but most stuff they make is like so generic and sterile that the idea of them making this worries me, because I feel like it's not going to get the treatment it deserves. But I could be wrong, because Netflix isn't short of money. So if they could find the right talent and they do care about enough, I don't think they have things holding them back outside of their own ambitions.
I mean, they upped their prices this year, so
Yeah. They up their prices. It's so interesting when they do that too, because like it's bound to happen, especially with the more and more value they put into their package. Value. I'm not a big Netflix guy anymore, but they do spend a lot of money to make Netflix a place that like exclusivity, to make things that you can only see there, and they got some bangers. So that price is gonna go up. I mean, it has to. They're spending more money. They got to make more money.
for sure.
But I saw a lot of people like, of course, like upset about that price going up, and like it's just gonna do that, dude. Like Game Pass is gonna go up at some point. Like all these things go up eventually, so you gotta be ready for that. But yeah, that was interesting. Can only speculate because there's no information, but I assume they're going to do Bioshock 1. I assume they're going to do Rapture. I hope they allow a budget that can make something that looks even slightly good when it comes to any of the Bioshock worlds, because they're very well crafted and immersive worlds. If they skimp on that, it's going to suck. If there's a lot of shitty CGI, it's going to suck. So yeah, it's kind of rough. I, in a perfect world, like a good Bioshock movie. I think it'd be a good thing, but the Netflix part of it makes me a little apprehensive because I feel like it could be good, but it just leans it in the direction of where I'm assuming it might not be. But we'll find out. Have you seen any of the reviews for the Uncharted movie?
Mm-mm.
People seem to not be big fans of it from what I've seen. So, not that I had high hopes for it. I mean, Uncharted is also a movie, a really fun movie to play. And taking on trying to create Nathan Drake when he already exists in those games so well, it's like an impossible task.
Yeah.
Especially when you cast someone like Tom Holland, who's fine, but like he's not Nathan Drake. And fucking Mark Wahlberg. But anyway, at some point I'm sure I'll watch that movie. I'm not going to go to a theater and watch it. If it's on like a streaming service, I'll check it out, but that's about as far as that goes. Yeah. So anyway, Bioshock movie is officially happening. Kind of wild since they don't make Bioshock games anymore. And yeah, it's kind of weird. So let's hope it's good. I want everything to be good, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it might not be, but we'll see. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about the Bioshock movie being made through Netflix. What would you like to see from it? Do you want it to be Rapture? Do you want it to be Infinite? Bioshock Infinite, or the original Bioshock, or something else? Maybe you want them to try something else. I don't know how that would work, but they could just tie it in. That would probably be a mistake. And who would you like to see direct it? And yeah, what are your thoughts when it comes to that? When it comes to the directing part, like I said, I would like to see like a respectable nerdy mind work on it, like Christopher Nolan, which he would never touch that, or like Denis Villeneuve, who would never touch that because they're too high up to be making that movie. But some kind of person who has like an imagination. Maybe Neil Blomkamp would be fucking good. Guy made District. Oh god, 9? Is it the 9th District? Anyway. It'd be cool if he made it. He'd do a good job. Yeah. So, Taste Cast. Let's jump into what we've been playing. Okay. Let's start with you.
I've played a little bit of Final Fantasy 14. Not a lot. Hopped in, did a couple dailies. That was pretty much it. And outside of that, the only thing I have played at all is Lost Ark. So,
all right. Well, I mean, we could save that if you want, real quick.
Yeah.
So you haven't played anything else?
Nope.
Oh yeah, last week you were talking about you're playing Guilty Gear. So I was like, weren't you playing Guilty Gear? But you already talked about that last week. So
yeah, and I played all the Plus games last week. I still need to play Game of the Month.
Yeah, we need to set a day aside for that.
I say this week has been, half this week has been Lost Ark. The other half has been it being in maintenance when I'm home. So
that is true. Yeah.
And the game I'm probably devoting my time to comes out after this airs. So
yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I'm just kind of in a weird lull right now.
Yeah, that is weird. I was able to wake up early and play it because it was in maintenance last night as well, and it's in maintenance right now. So I mean, at least they're working on it. But yeah, it's kind of annoying that it's like, on our free time, can't fucking play it. But that's the roll of the dice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have much to talk about either. So I guess we're just gonna have a Lost Ark discussion, which is cool. So I'm sure a lot of people want to know our opinions, and we want to know theirs. But I played UFC 4. Finally got around to playing it. I'm not going to talk about my opinions on it. I'm just going to let you know I kicked a dude in the head a lot. I kicked him in the head a lot. I kicked this dude in the head like 15 times. His head was like black and blue, and he looked wild. And then he knocked me out. Or no, he didn't knock me out. He broke my shin. He kicked me in the leg like 4 times and broke it. I'm like, I kicked you in the head like 15 times, and he just broke my leg.
Weren't drinking enough milk.
Apparently, yeah, that guy, he must have been Russian. I don't know, man. I hear they're really hardcore in MMA right now. Yes, that happened, and we will talk about that at the end of the month for Plus Club. Also, another game we'll be talking about on Plus Club is Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep and Planet Coaster, but I didn't play that. I did play Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, and we will talk about that. I have plenty to say on it, but in case you don't know, I'm just going to let you know, this is the DLC that came out for Borderlands 2 a long time ago as a standalone, and it has a big-ass fucking ad right in the beginning for you to buy Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It's just a big thing, and it doesn't even, it's very ambiguous. It's like it barely shows you the way to leave. It just has three options. It's like hit X, square, or triangle to buy versions of this game. And I was like, holy shit, this is some Xbox shit. You're gonna advertise stuff before I can even fucking play this thing? So anyway, that's the thing. Check that out. We'll be talking about it at the end of the month. Played more Dying Light 2. Don't have a lot to report there. I haven't beaten it still because I've been playing a lot of Lost Ark. But I have been playing it in the second area more. It's very cool. It's very vertical. It's very different from the first area. I almost have all my parkour and my combat abilities. So that's cool. Combat in that game and parkour in that game, same as the first game, just feel right as you unlock more and more stuff. Like it's like there's like the way the game's supposed to be played, and they take features away from you and put you in the beginning, and then you just unlock the full experience. In a lot of games, I almost feel like that feels cheap, but in this game, it almost feels rewarding because you feel like you're gaining access to mobility and combat. I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but I'm enjoying it. I was hoping to finish it this last weekend, but I literally, outside of 6 hours, played Lost Ark all weekend. I was really fucking sweaty. It's the sweatiest I've been on a game in a long time. I was like, I gotta sleep at some point, so I fell asleep and I set an alarm. I slept for 6 hours, woke up, I was tired. I was like, I'm gonna play some more Lost Ark because I gotta hit 50. That's really bad. I felt like I was like 15 again, dude. Just like, I gotta fucking play this game, and we're gonna talk about it in a sec, but like it's not even like the game's good, but it's not like the game's amazing. I was just like, I got too many fucking games to play this month, and I'm really wanting to put time into this game, so I better put all my time into it right now.
Yeah, time crunch.
Yeah, exactly. And I've explained this to you like 3 times already, but my big thing is I wanted to leave the game in a way that when I come back, I'm already in the end game and ready to just do that. I didn't want to like stop playing at like 45 and have to remember what the hell is happening in the story and stuff like that. So I kind of just beelined it. So yeah, Dying Light 2, I was going to complete. I didn't. I should have. And now I have Forbidden West to play in a couple days. And I'm literally taking some time off to play it because that's the only way I'm going to be able to play all these games, apparently. So, but I got a plan. All right, well, I already kind of dived into Lost Ark.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. And before we talk about that, I did a stream. I've done 2 streams on Lost Ark. One of them was pretty early in the game, and then the recent one was earlier today. I did it in the morning where I was doing endgame stuff. So if you're curious about endgame, I actually had a really good conversation throughout that whole stream. People were like really active and talking and asking questions about endgame and discussing what they're doing in the game. So like pretty much for like the hour and a half I streamed, we were just talking like nonstop about Lost Ark. So check out that episode. I wasn't going to keep it up on the oh god, what's it called? Where all the videos are. I was gonna like hide it, so if you wanted to watch, you can go check the stream playlist. But I was like, I feel like we covered a lot of good stuff in that episode or in that stream, so I'm just gonna leave it up in case people want to hear that stuff and maybe they have the same questions. But yeah, those are up, so check those out if you want to see gameplay and hear my opinions there as well. But we've both played Lost Ark. You're still on your way. 250. What level are you? 30 something?
30 something.
30 something. I hit 50, so I'm doing endgame now, just so people know where we're at. What are you maining? Paladin. And I am doing, I almost forgot, Berserker, which is pretty much what you'd assume a Berserker to be. It seems pretty classic. It's a lot of quick attacks and like I mean, this game, everyone attacks in every direction pretty easily. Everybody's got like explosive moves, but a lot of his moves are like slams on the ground and shit, and spinning moves that hit a lot of people. I think Paladin actually has some like group buffs or defense shit.
You can there's modifiers to skills to add essentially perks to them. There's 3 options per skill once you hit the right amount of skill points into it. And some of the Paladin ones add some group beneficial effects to them. So, like I have a AoE attack that by default just happens in front of you, and that's it. It just does like a dot while things are standing in it. The first add-on made it where I can cast it, so it doesn't have to be at my feet. I can put it anywhere. And then the second one I added puts a shield on any ally standing in it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Pretty cool for stuff I'm doing currently in the game. I feel like will be really handy, but we'll get into that in a sec. So yeah, that's what we're playing if you're curious and where we're at. Before I just ask you your impressions of it, for anybody who's not currently playing Lost Ark, I'll just let you know what it is. It is free to play. It's an MMO. It might look like Diablo. It is straight up an MMO. It just is top down like Diablo, but it is. If it wasn't top down, it would be a third person MMO with the action combat system. That's the closest thing to Diablo it has. Is the combat is kind of similar, mostly similar, and loot is portrayed as Diablo style, but it still is like given at the same pace as a lot of MMOs. It's not like you're not just getting dumped like a bunch of shit like, Torchlight, Diablo, stuff like that. But it does give you that shit just flying out on the ground kind of sensation. Most of it's just like resources. So in that appearance, it looks like Diablo, but it is a straight up MMO where you go to zones, you do quests for NPCs, main quests, side quests, and you level up. Max level's 50. There is ships in the game where you're able to go across the ocean, do missions on the ocean, do missions on different islands. The story is actually portrayed in a very cinematic way, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point in this discussion. And combat is more actiony, similar to Diablo. You click places to walk, you click to attack, and then your macros are Q, W, E, R, A, S, D, F. With exactly. It honestly reminds me of that top-down PvP game I played. Do you remember what that was called?
I don't remember what it's called.
Something right. But it's very similar to that. So it does feel like an action MOBA almost in that sense. And then V is an attack, Z is an attack sometimes, depending on what class you're playing. Like my guy, it's his berserk ability, but then like the gunslinger, Z and X switch your weapons. So all the classes are pretty different. And then 1 through like 9 are like items you can use, and then you can assign things to F1, which is weird. And that's pretty much what the game is. It has an end game that I can go
multi-tiered.
Yeah, the end game is yeah.
It has a pretty clear ladder, though. To my knowledge, it doesn't explain it very well. Every random video I've caught online basically says you should start here, and when your item level hits this, you go here. When your item level hits this, you go here.
It's maybe if you weren't used to that, it would be maybe kind of weird and confusing. And the game doesn't introduce you that you're now doing this very well. But once you know you are doing the end game and you understand what it is, it's very straightforward. It is a ladder for sure.
Yeah.
Like you're just going up the ladder, and every once in a while it's like, are you good enough to be going to this point? And you're like, no. And then you just keep going, doing grinding and shit, and then you go up when you can. But we will dive into that. But
the only other thing I'm going to add to that too is one of the dungeon types, I can't remember at endgame, has a 2 time per day thing, I think, but it also has a mechanic built in that if you miss a day, you're not missing out. Those attempts just get moved over up to 5 days, and then it stops saving them. But
yeah,
so that you don't miss out on opportunities to loot. So
Yeah, and I mean, what else when it comes to what the game is? It's got mounts. I mean, it's literally an MMO. Guilds. We have a guild. It's Tasty Loot Gaming. If we know you well enough, feel free to look us up and join. Although there's only 30 spots, and that's probably gonna fill pretty quickly because people are hitting 50 and getting other characters, and they're gonna fill that up. So hopefully,
Once you go levels that you can expand it. But
yeah. I figured. Just letting people know. And yeah, the game's super cinematic for a top-down game. We've both played it a lot. So yeah, what's your overall impressions of Lost Ark?
Well, I think just right off the bat, I think the place where this game shines the most is in combat. The combat is snappy and very fun to the point where it's real easy to just kind of like forget you're fighting because you're just like in it the whole time, which is honestly very impressive for the perspective of the game, because Diablo, you're like hitting, at least when I play Diablo, I should say, it's like a skill or two and you're just melting groups and enemies. This one, you are kind of doing a similar formula, except for you're comboing through moves a little more often. Not the leveling experience so much, just because you are melting things, but the leveling is not meant to be hard. It's meant to get you to 50. So
Yeah, 1 through 50 in this game, as I've explained at this point, is getting you acquainted with your skills and the variables, what those skills can do to make a build. You're spending up to 50 to learn the basics of the game, get the story, because it's very cinematic, and just learn your class. And then at the end, it starts unlocking everything.
Yeah.
For you. Also, one thing too I didn't mention that I think is kind of important to mention as well. You get to 50 pretty quickly. I did in 30 hours. But you have a roster level as well, and the roster level is essentially badass points from Borderlands. When you level your roster, mine's 25 at this point, you get stats for your account. So every character on your account will have those stats now. So the more you get your roster up, the more powerful all your characters become over time. So when you do cap out at 50, soft cap, you can go up to 60, but it takes forever.
Have you tried that on a different server yet? Because I don't know if it's server based or account based. That's my only question with that.
I haven't even been on another server. Okay. But I can confirm they work over on other characters.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure if it left the server or not.
I just want to add that though, because it's an interesting system. The game almost feels like every character is just working towards your account and not that character. It's interesting.
Yeah. Outside of that, the zones are not super open, so it is less MMO-y in that regard. They're very much nice looking hallways. I have zero complaints personally, but it is a lot of like, this zone, is shaped in this kind of hallway with zoning to different zones, which are different shaped hallways and stuff like that.
And you don't stand for very long. You can,
super
but
short. Yeah,
you go through them pretty quick.
They look nice though. They're definitely well designed. I do really like that. I like that mobs have a random chance to kind of have like a champion version spawn with them as well. And that goes, if you find those and you kill them, it goes into an adventure log, which is also in a roster feature. A lot of the features in the game, like collectibles and stuff like that, are roster based, not character based. So you play in alts, you can continue that progress as well. And those champions are part of that, so which I appreciate as well. Plus, they tend to also have a chance to drop loot a little better. Yeah, I think the pacing of the quests is good, even though the quests are honestly pretty simple. But you're not doing it for very long, so it's really easy to just kind of keep going. It's a good balance. It would have been really easy for them to just have you go kill like 10 of something over and over and over again. And in most cases, you kill like 2 things and you're done with the quest.
Yeah, the big thing I was saying since the beginning of playing it is that the game respects your time. It's a lot of times like anytime you do a mission in any game, almost ever, if you got to do more than one thing, it's typically 3. And this game, a lot of times, it's like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Like you do it once, and it's like, do it a second time, so you get you get the experience if you did it more than once, and then you do it a second time, it's like, all right, you're done. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like going on with my life.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, I have very few nitpicks about the game. One is the quests are boring because they're very much, you know, your typical MMO affair. Like, you know, kill this, click on this, you know, move it here. Before, like I said earlier, they're short, so it doesn't like, it's not an annoyance as much as like, it's kind of a weakness of the game, I would say, for sure.
It's a weakness, and if it wasn't for the amount of time they spent on the varied locations, it's kind of amazing how many zones you go through. They're all completely different, and you spend not a whole lot of time in all these zones. Like, they put a lot of work into the areas. So like when you're doing missions where you're killing this dude, killing that dude, talking to this person, picking up an item and bringing it over to another circle, which happens a lot throughout the game, the quest structure is pretty limited,
Yeah.
honestly, but the locations make it less apparent, and the combat's so fun that I didn't really mind it. But yeah, I was never like, these missions are awesome outside of the set piece missions,
A little different, yeah.
which are really cool spectacles.
Yeah.
But those are not every mission.
For sure. And the game does a good job of instancing story elements, including solo elements. So there'll be solo instances that are meant to be more set piece and more of a spectacle, which I do appreciate, coming from, you know, being a Final Fantasy 14 player. I do think the only thing I honestly warn people about, and most people already know this coming into free to play games, but in case you're new to it, they make their money other ways, and in this case, it would be a cash shop, and it does have technically a way to buy gear towards the end of the game, so that can be a turnoff for some people. I don't have this need to be out geared compared to the rest of the community, so it's not a big deal to me. But that is something to be aware of. If you are worried about, some people do want to be like the best, and that can be paywalled technically. So just a warning in that regard. But if you're just playing it, you're never going to worry about it. So
Yeah, I haven't felt the need to pay for anything yet. So
yeah, it's going to be a type of person for sure.
Yeah.
They're going to want to be the best as fast as possible.
one, if you have expendable income, like plenty of it, and you don't have to think about it, or even if you don't have expendable income and you just don't care, there are certain types of people who will use that to their advantage.
For sure. And then, you know, my mentality on that is the whales are keeping the servers open for me. So
As long as I'm not negatively impacted by it,
yeah.
I don't care,
Yeah.
honestly. But if they're gaining an advantage on me in a way that is a negative experience for me, that's when it bothers me.
For sure. And time will tell in long haul, because one thing to be concerned about when you're buying currencies, essentially, is how does that affect the economy, because it does affect everybody. So we'll see. Right now it's fun, though. So going into this game mostly just kind of with low expectations, and they've been exceeded because I didn't really have high expectations for it. I wasn't going to, this isn't my main MMO, won't be my main MMO, but I am having fun, and I am fortunate enough to have a group of people to play with, so I don't have to worry about pugging content.
Yeah, we got a decent amount of people playing already, which is nice.
Yeah, so...
Unlike when I was playing ESO and everybody played for like 4 days and then we're gone, and I was like, well, fuck, there's like 2 of us playing now.
Yeah, game's rough for me. I don't dislike it, but I'm not a huge Elder Scrolls fan, and it definitely feels like an Elder Scrolls game. So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of already said it, but it's a beautiful game. I love the way it looks, and it's very flashy. That's not everyone's cup of tea. It is absolutely my cup of tea. I love flashy combat.
It's weird. Well, yeah, the combat's super fucking flashy. It's almost too flashy, but it's impressive looking. So I can't take that from it. But it's weird how Korean MMOs have like a look to them. Yeah. Because this game, every time I look at it, it reminds me of like Ion and another Korean MMO. I forgot which one it was.
Is it BDO? Vindictus, BDO.
Oh yeah, Vindictus reminds me of Vindictus as well too. Like character models, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like all these games at the time they come out, of course, like the graphics go down over time, but or depreciate over time. They go for like semi-realistic looking character models, and yeah, BDO as well. They go for these like semi-realistic looking character models that have like nice looking hair, realistic looking skin, normal proportions for the most part. And then even like the world design, monster design. I mean, like a lot of these games will have like, and maybe it's like a cultural thing, like lore or something like that. But like like wolf men that look a certain way, and like enemies with spikes in their backs and shit. Like you kind of see like a similarity. So it's interesting playing this game, and just kind of like as I'm playing, I'm like, that's so interesting how some of these games have similar looks. But I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff in Western games you can just be like, this looks similar to that. Just like if you play Japanese games, you're gonna be like, this has some kind of like slime monster in it, like they all do, and some kind of goofy French fry boy.
I watched a video today of classes that we don't have yet. Mm-hmm. One of them's a painter that does like black paint that does different effects and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it actually looks really fun, but it's super supporty, I guess. So yeah, class design in the game is really cool. There's, again, this is a teach their own thing. Game's technically gender locked. Not a lot of people like that. I don't mind so much because I understand the aspect in why they do that.
Yeah, me and you're on the same page on this.
But I do understand from Western audience perspective, when we make games, we want to make our hero versus like you're playing a character in a lot of Eastern games.
Yeah, specifically in a lot of Korean games that I've played. One of them that I thought of when we talked about this originally was like Dungeon Fighter Online, stuff like that. But like,
I think Vindictus works as well because
Vindictus,
they are named.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's in these games you get to customize their character. They've already predetermined these characters within the world and lore, and you are playing as that character, and you get to choose how that character looks. But it's still a character they made, and so in their mind, this martial artist that you're playing is a female in their world, and you're deciding how she looks, but you're still playing that archetype or whatever, and within those confines, I have no issue with it at all. I don't mind playing male or female. I typically play male characters if I make characters, but in a lot of games nowadays too, if I know I'm not going to spend a lot of time in it, I don't even really customize my characters much anymore, because I'm like, I'm going to beat this and be done with it. If it's a game I know I'm going to spend a lot of time in, I'll customize my character, of course, because I want to be more involved. But in a game like this, it's interesting because I honestly don't care if I'm male or female. Like I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the wrong person. I play a lot of female characters in games, so I am playing a male in this one though.
I also get bored doing the same thing over and over again too. So if I'm always like habitually playing male characters, I like to like push myself to not play one and just make a female character. And if a game makes me play one, I didn't even think about it until I hear people complain about it. I'm like, oh yeah, people are upset with that. And it's to each their own, like you said.
Sure,
it's not like it's not a right or wrong issue. But I think it's important to kind of understand that this is not uncommon.
Well, some people are also like living a fantasy of like implanting themselves into the game,
which I don't.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I don't have that.
I am playing a fantasy. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be someone else. So
yeah.
But again, we already went over it. It's to each their own thing. For me, it works just fine. I like the more like they get to pick aspect of it, because it does add a very definitive style to every single even spec, but archetype essentially, and very similar to like, though Final Fantasy does allow you to pick your gender, it's similar to like job system, right? Like this job looks this way. Well, in this game, this character looks this way.
Didn't Final Fantasy have gender locked characters?
Used to.
Yeah.
Used to. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. It's not such a weird thing in Asian culture, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a Western thing where we go, I don't like that. So.
Yeah, we either want to play like one main character or make our own character.
Yeah. And neither's wrong. So, just preference. So, yeah. Yeah, and I'm also looking forward to the fact that it's kind of a hit or miss thing. We got about half the game roughly because the game is I think it's 4.5 years. A video I watched said in Korea but we got about 2 years worth of the game given to us. So there's classes we haven't gotten yet that are technically done, and they can use those. Honestly, as population dwindles and go, here's a character. Spark some interest, get people back in. It's smart marketing.
No, I think it's smart to release an MMO that's already established in like an earlier form of it, because then I mean, I would like to have all the content, but I also know it's an MMO and I'm gonna stop playing at some point. So if I get to experience what other people got to experience when the game was rolling out, it's gonna keep me coming back. And I don't plan on only playing this game, so I'm okay with those breaks. So yeah, and it's smart on their part because they already have new characters already made. There's no development ahead of them when it comes to that. So
minus ones are making obviously for current build in Korea.
Sure, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, like in terms of these characters, they don't got to do anything.
Yeah.
They just got to release them, and it's gonna be exciting for us. And they did the work before, so
yeah. And it's all been tested, so we don't actually have to deal with that part of it until we catch up. Because I do believe their plan is we're gonna get like a speedy update cycle to kind of to get us up to catch up.
Oh, interesting.
So, because then they'd be developing for everyone at once at that point. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm having fun. Game doesn't have the Trinity, which is a little hard to get used to if you're a MMO player, because most MMOs, minus like I think 2 or 3, have used the Trinity. So it's a little weird sometimes for sure, but a little more self-responsibility, which I think honestly makes better players if you're more self-responsible. But
yeah. So far I've been really liking this game a lot. It has a couple things free to play esque that I'm not the biggest fan of, but nothing egregious so far, so I can't fault it because it's got to make its money. That's the route they chose. I respect it. I would prefer it being a premium game. That's my preference with everything. I'd rather just get the whole experience. But the game is pretty fucking full of content for not having. Well, I paid for something, but I paid for early access and got some dumb shit for it. But
crystalline aura.
Yeah. But coming into it, like if you had not gotten the beta access or whatever, I've gotten over $60 worth of a game already from what I've played. So it's been a very fair free play experience, and I don't feel like I've been held back or kept from any content. So the free to play model seems to be good. I just noticed that there's a lot of menus and things that you have to wait for over time. That Warframe does this as well, which is another great free to play, or not free to play MMO, free to play game. Might as well be, but yeah. So it's not anything new, but there's things you got to wait for, and there's like potions and stuff you can use to speed those processes up, and you can acquire those, I'm sure, through the store or something. So, yeah.
I think everything is acquirable in game though. So.
Yeah, 100%. Well, what I've seen so far, you just have to put the work in, or you can pay them. So, but anyway, the whole point is the free play aspect of it is fair so far, though not preferable. It is not bad. Gameplay is good. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot more active. You're paying attention more than you would typically in a lot of MMOs. I do have a rotation at this point, though, with my character. I've worked on his build and have a thing I do, but at this point, I also kind of know all my skills and what they do. That sometimes, in the right circumstance, I can use this one and that one or whatever. So it's a lot of fun in the moment having to dodge, and they don't give you a whole lot of time to think about dodging in this game, which is refreshing. Sometimes I feel like it's a little too generous in MMOs. But yeah, combat's good. I haven't tried PvP yet, but I want to. Seems like it'd be a good game for it. Battle Right. That's the name of that game.
Oh, okay.
That top-down PvP game.
Interesting time to remember that.
Yeah, it just dawned on me as soon as I said that. And it's so weird how memory works. Yeah, so combat's good though. I think that's where. Or no, I haven't tried PvP yet. That's where it came from. But I want to. Seems like it'd be a good game for it because Battle Right was a lot of fun in my opinion. Before
Also, stats are normalized.
yeah, you got to make a new build for PvP. So, which is the biggest reason why I haven't tried PvP is because I don't want to make a second build yet. I guess I could just look one up. Yeah, went through the main storyline, and I actually really enjoyed it. I didn't pay attention to the story as much as I should have, because in the beginning of the game, I'm like, yeah, whatever, fucking magical guy, this, that, whatever. But as soon as I started seeing some pretty well done set pieces, I was like, so what the fuck's happening in this game? Because these are some pretty cool scenes that I want to talk about, but I don't want to talk about. But if you've played through the game, you've probably seen them. And a couple of them have to do with like sieging castles and defending castles, and they're really fucking cool. Not even just for like a top-down game, even though it's impressive they're doing that in this kind of game and telling story through those means. But in general, for an MMO, it's cool to see this kind of scale when it comes to the story they're telling, which I really like. Zones are cool, though brief. You can revisit them though, and there's plenty of like trade skills, like fishing, being a lumberjack, forging plants. There's a couple of them where you use like a sonar to find treasure and shit. That you can go back to zones and use these anywhere, so there's reason to return sometimes. Also, if you passed up NPCs to do quests in that area, you can always go back and do that. It goes towards your roster level as well, so it's not wasted time.
Collectibles,
Makoko seeds are everywhere. There's like 1,200 Makoko seeds in the game, and every zone has at least like 3 of them.
Every one you pick up gives you 150 roster XP.
Yeah, which I should go do because I noticed my roster level's going up a lot slower lately, but I've just been doing endgame.
I think you also get rewards for 100% completing zones too. So.
Yeah, it's kind of figured when I played alternate characters, because all this goes towards your roster, not your character. So all the Makoko seeds, all the gold I make in the game, all the silver I make in the game, it's not my characters, it's my accounts, which I like. I think it's kind of cool that
and your mouse.
I just feel like
wide,
which is nice, because when I made new characters and I had to pick a horse, I picked the brown one, I picked the black one. I have all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So the more you play the game, the more you just have access to everything for everyone. That's part of your roster, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, the Makoko seed thing is neat. I like when MMOs embrace just doing stuff within the world that's not just questing. I know it's kind of vague, but really, I appreciate people doing anything. This game has plenty of like random things to do. It also has a great imagination. I already kind of talked about the set pieces, but some of the locations you go to, especially later in the story, really get creative in the environments. I even till like recently have just been like still impressed with locations in the game. So, which kind of brings me to one point I wanted to bring up. This whole game feels like people gave a fuck about it.
Well, I know the Korean community loves the devs, so.
Yeah, nothing about this game feels cheap. Like, it's a free-to-play game, but it doesn't have outside of the free-to-play features, it feels like the devs gave a fuck. There's details all over this bitch that, like, I'm like, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
All the time, I'm just like, there's such small details in this game. Like, these dudes, I'm sure, driven by wanting to make a lot of money off of it, were like, we're going to make a really fucking cool game. I think they did it. I'm like constantly impressed with the game. I mean, at this point, I'm doing end game stuff, so it's like I'm doing a lot more repetitive stuff. But even with the new stuff that I'm interacting with now that I couldn't interact with for the main storyline, it has that like JRPG feeling of unlocking new features the further you get into it. I feel like I haven't seen everything yet. I mean, there's even a location in the game that I can't go to until I'm gear score like 440 or something like that. And right now I'm 386. So there's a whole area I can't go to yet until I do enough end game to get to that point. So I think it's really cool. Gives me something to look forward to, which is really important for me when it comes to MMOs. I think there's a generous amount of classes in the game. I can't go through all of them, but because I can't remember them all, but there's quite a bit of classes. They're all very different. Each one I've played has felt different, and all have different specials that make you play them differently, which is really cool. Like I said before, I'm playing Berserker, who is essentially just DPS. He does a lot of damage quickly, and I'm really enjoying playing him. But my other character that I play is a gunslinger, who has a sniper rifle, I think dual pistols, and a shotgun. And they all have their own skills, which is kind of wild. So you're switching between those for like close distance, long distance, medium range. And these two classes play completely different. Just like the paladin I haven't played, but I've seen, seems to play completely different. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. And there is no Trinity, which is kind of weird. But you can, similar to like when Guild Wars 2 came out and they're like, no Trinity, play all you want. And people just started playing roles anyway. You can kind of do that in this game. Not as well, because it's not designed for that. But you can start, you can start like trying to be like more like, I can survive this better. So, or, I'm DPS, because I'm playing Berserker and he's essentially hitting a lot really quickly. He's definitely meant to just do a lot of damage fast to enemies. So I do put myself in the position of a DPS. And when I play with randos, there are people running around trying to heal people while I'm doing DPS. And I'm like, it's not the Trinity, but people are trying to lean into that still. So.
I think it also helps that generally any moves that might give party beneficial stuff are also generally damage moves on top of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the game definitely wants you to stay active in the combat, because that's the most important part about it. But when you're doing some of the later stuff and you can't use potions during these missions, people play a lot more carefully, less run in and start fucking just spamming moves, and you start seeing people using their like heals and shield abilities and stuff like that a little more safely. I don't know how they're executing them, what kind of move they're using to do that, but I just kind of noticed that, because I'll be like in there, attacking some dude, and all of a sudden I got a thing around me, and I noticed the person casting it is like not next to us; they're like kind of behind me somewhere. So they're trying to, at the very least, help out the situation. So yeah, we already went over what to expect from questing. That there is jobs. That everything in this game you fucking level up. Like everything, your character, your roster,
your house.
And I was going to get to that. Your jobs all independently level up, and as they level up, you get more abilities with those jobs, and then you use those resources typically towards your stronghold, which is your house. Your stronghold is a house on an island, and there you can research more building types to put on your island. You can have up to 1,000 pieces on your island, so it's pretty cool. It also has a grab all items placed on your island button, which I really appreciate. You don't have to go around looking for every piece. You can just hit that button and it brings all the shit back in your inventory. So that's kind of nice. Also, certain structures you build on your island will give your island stats. And then your island levels up, and then you have access to new things to unlock and research. And you can make items there. You can send NPCs and extra ships that you have out on expeditions. And yeah, there's a bunch of shit to do there as well. It's something I waited on until I beat the game or beat the story to dive into, because I noticed the XP bar and all that shit. I'm like, oh fuck, this is like its own little mini game. So yeah, but I'm doing it now, and I'm actually really enjoying it. Between doing like the end game stuff and that, it's kind of a fun, almost more relaxing experience than going through the story, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's got strongholds you level up, jobs you level up, all that kind of stuff, collectibles which go towards your, I forgot what it's called, but each zone
Adventure guide.
Adventure guide. I think is that what it's called. The big thing that has all the objectives. Which allows you to feel like you're completing the zone, and it rewards you as you progress completing that zone.
Yeah,
so there's
percentage points.
So there is plenty to do in the game. There's dungeons all over the game. There's a lot of them, and they're actually all really neat. The first two I thought were pretty cool, and after that they just get way better. Like 3 and on are just like awesome. They're all different, huge spectacles.
Scaled to the amount of players you have.
Which is great because, yeah, if someone drops out, you're not fucked.
Or if you don't want to deal with strangers, you can play it by yourself.
You can play it solo. There's also difficulties. You can play it on hard. After I experimented with that, I only played dungeons on hard because it felt more loot, and it just felt a little more. They weren't hard, but it just felt like I was a little more involved in it.
It makes sense. I guarantee the normal mode is the same as like dungeons in Final Fantasy 14. They're just story devices. Like get you forward. So.
I could see that. Yeah, hard just seems like you want to be more involved in the combat aspect of it.
A little extra training.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun. And am I missing anything else when it comes to all that stuff? Because I was just going to talk about the end game next. So yeah, after you complete all that stuff, though, there's like a couple islands you got to do for the story. There's also a bunch of random islands you can go to as well. There's a bunch of secret shit out in the ocean too, which is kind of neat. There's also different types of water in the ocean that are hazards, so that's an interesting part. But the end game is interesting because, like we kind of said before, it is essentially a ladder. What happens is once you complete a certain part of the story, you unlock the ability to do something called Chaos Dungeons, Abyssal Dungeons, and something Raids. I forgot what they're called, but essentially Raids. And pretty much the objective there is when you complete the story, you get a full set. The game gives you a full set of armor that's rated at 302. There's a gear score in the game, and once you wear that, you're at 302. And then there's something in the game called honing, and you're able to use resources that you get from certain end game game types or breaking down armor. And you're able to put that resource into the armor you're wearing and upgrade its gear score up to 20 times. That's 20 levels, and that increases its stats, making you more powerful over time, and your gear score goes up. And you just keep doing that until you can reach certain parts of the Chaos Dungeon, which is essentially 3 sections. You have to fight a bunch of enemies with up to 3 other people, and when you complete all 3 of those sections, you get a reward. But the whole time you're just getting the first run, you get a bunch of gear and then money, and then after that, it's mostly just the resource for honing. But it's a really good way and you can get this stuff just by playing missions too. As long as you're getting armor and breaking it down, you're getting these materials. But this just gives you that as you play it. So it's probably the fastest way to do it. I think that's what it's designed for. But once a day, you are able to increase your chance on getting items from it. It said 2 times a day, but I've only seen the once. Like I'll start it up and I only have 1 attempt.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be 2.
I think it is 2.
If you miss a day, it's supposed to carry up to 5.
Unless my schedule's so fucked that like I'm doing 50% of my 2 things
constantly
at a time. I have no fucking idea, because I had read also, and I remember the first time I did it, I had 100 of this thing called resonance, which is your attempts, and then I had 50, and then I had 0. Now every time I hop on, I have 50. So maybe I'm not letting it recharge enough.
You should watch a video on it.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not there, so I can't help.
So you do the Chaos Dungeons, and then the Abyssal Dungeon is essentially revisiting dungeons from throughout the game, which I think is a good thing, because they put a lot of work into these dungeons, and the idea of not revisiting them sounds awful, because they're really neat. And playing them one time doesn't seem that great. But then the Abyssal Dungeons, you do sections of the dungeons before, but then you fight a boss that you can't use potions on, which really sucks. So you have to really be on your shit, play together, and work together. And then the raid is essentially a top-down version of Monster Hunter. You get put into a stage, and you have to find the monster you're trying to hunt, locate him, There's even flares and stuff you can craft where you can shoot in the air and locate him. And then you fight him. It doesn't have a health bar above his head, and you can't use potions here either. And you have to just fight him until it dies and read his moves, and they'll run at certain points in the fight and stuff like that. So it's literally just Monster Hunter. It's actually a lot of fun. I did the first one and completed it, and it was fun. I liked it. There's also something called the Tower, which in my opinion almost seems like a skill check. You go in the tower and you go as far as you can. There's random challenges on each floor. And then eventually you'll hit a floor where you can't proceed unless your gear score is high enough for it. And then you keep going. And whenever you quit out, you get rewards for every single floor you did. When you come back, you start at the floor you left before. So if you got the floor 5 and then you leave, when you come back, you'll be on floor 5 again. And so it seems like it's probably finite, and you're just going to go through it, get all your rewards, and then be done with it eventually. But it's going to coincide with your progress in endgame because it is skill or gear score locked, depending on your gear score. There's something called the Cube, which I haven't tried yet. I made the guild mission coincide with guild or cube completion. And that was stupid because none of us are doing the cube. So we're not doing our guild mission right now. But I didn't know at the time. But yeah, I guess you get tickets from something in the game. And when you get those tickets, you're able to go into the cube. And it's set up like a roguelike where there's like buffs and debuffs that you get randomly. And you try and get as far as you can in it with your friends. And you get rewarded for that. So I'm very interested in trying that. And there's something called Boss Rush, which, if I had to guess, because I don't know what that is, I assume you're fighting bosses in it. So anyway, it has a robust end game, but it is fairly straightforward in the sense that it wants you to do Chaos Dungeon, get rewards, hopefully get some better gear, but if you don't, hone your gear and get that gear score higher so that you could do the Abyssal Dungeon, beat that, move on to the next Abyssal Dungeons, get gear from that hopefully you can get better gear and start honing that up to get your gear score up. And then the raids, I don't know where they fit in there outside of just something to do.
I think it's just another opportunity to get loot.
But they do coincide with, there's a story element to them, which I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, plenty of stuff to do. And then while you're doing that, you can also go and do like your stronghold stuff, get all your collectible stuff like that. There's plenty of shit to do once you finish it up. So that's been a lot of fun. Though because I beelined to the end of the game, I'm just playing the waiting game, which kind of sucks. We got a couple people who have hit 50 though, since I did.
I think you have enough to make a full group now.
Well, I don't know if anybody's at end game as of right now. People hit 50, but they don't have 302 gear. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I saw people hitting 50. I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm like, wait, that doesn't mean it doesn't mean we can play yet.
Yeah.
I went too hard on the game.
I mean, same thing happens in 14. I should have thought of that because you hit 90, but you're not done with the story yet.
Yeah, I actually had a couple people ask, they're like, I'm 50. When can I do that? I'm like, you got to finish the story. Like, you got to go through it and get your 302 gear. And just so you guys know, in case you don't know, when you do beat the story, which means I'm going to keep it vague, you beat Vern, the city's storyline. You get certain rewards, but you get a level 50 boost for one of your other characters, and you're supposed to get. Everybody told me you're supposed to get another boost, but they didn't tell me how because I don't think they knew. I did it, and when you use the 50 boost and play the character, you get another 50 boost from that. So if you're looking for your second 50 boost, you got to play the character you boosted. So yeah, do that.
Yeah,
and your mounts are account based, so make sure to pick the ones you don't have. So yeah, but yeah, overall, I mean, I've been enjoying the game. I'm playing it a lot. I haven't been sleeping a whole lot lately, so it's definitely been scratching that itch. I've been wanting to play an MMO lately, and an MMO so just so happened to have dropped in that time. So because I was humoring playing 14 or ESO, and this came out. So been going hard on it, but I do plan on playing Forbidden West as soon as it drops. And I need to finish Dying Light 2, and I like to play Sifu. So, but yeah, been having a lot of fun. I think it has a lot of content. I think it's well made. I think it offers an experience that I haven't really got from other MMOs, in the way they're doing the top-down thing and not just being like like a Torchlight Online or Diablo Online, but being like a full-fledged MMO. And it doesn't feel cheap. I think they went all out with it. The cinematics are really cool. The set pieces are really cool. Character creation is pretty good. Classes are good, although there's like 4 martial artists, which I think is really interesting. It's really interesting how like what was the class that came out originally in the beta that people didn't want?
Well, that we didn't want. We're still going to get it eventually.
Sure.
Summoner.
Yeah. So Summoner was there, and then during the beta, people were like, "Where's like a traditional magic user?" And so they swapped out them for the sorceress, and so we got 1 magic user and like 4 martial artists and a bunch of people with guns. So
4 gunners, 4 martial artists.
So I think it's really interesting, especially because you don't really get that in a lot of MMOs. So yeah, not complaining, just an interesting observation. But game's a lot of fun. It's free to play. I would highly recommend it if you're curious about it. You got nothing to lose. If you're looking for a new MMO to try out, pretty sure everyone I talked to who's played it has liked it so far. So
yeah, and it has controller support. I know one person,
which is so weird,
who's using a controller to play. So
who?
Scream.
Oh,
he's half controller, half keyboarding it. The hotkeys don't really work so well for like menus and stuff like that on controller. So, but playing combat wise and stuff, he plays on controller.
What game did I play like that? I played a game where I would use the controller to play it, and then I would use the keyboard for certain things.
Probably gonna have to with the game of the month.
Yeah, probably. Probably. But yeah, really good. Free to play. Check it out, and you probably will dig it. And also check out our guild, Tasty Loot Gaming. Tasty Loot is one word, and gaming is a second word because it had a weird thing about that. But yeah, check that out as well. And yeah, I'll continue to keep playing it because I'm really digging it. So, anything else you want to say on Lost Ark?
No, I mean, it's a fun time. Still, on a personal level, I'm going to prioritize 14. I think
this game's a great B MMO.
It has the potential. It has the end game to be a main MMO. It just does a lot to my wrist, I've learned. So I couldn't play it for an excessive amount of time anyways. But
that's what Godfall did to me. Fucked my wrist up.
But yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm not necessarily in love with it, but I don't have any complaints either. It is just a solid game.
I wouldn't say I'm in love with it either, but I am very impressed with it.
There's things it does that I really like. And one of those things is I do think it does set pieces really well, especially for an isometric game. It makes good use of camera movements and stuff like that when it's trying to show a scene. Also, because of the perspective, they can do interesting things with mechanics. Without saying the boss, there's a boss that you fight in multiple phases and has multiple things you can hit on him. And as you're going through and doing the different phases and moving through the level to keep fighting him, it adds more and more mechanics and stuff like that. And it's a fun fight for sure. I was very impressed with that. So I did not expect that from the style of game it is. So
yeah, it's one of the reasons I say I'm impressed with the game is I've been surprised by multiple times now. And so it's giving me an experience that most MMOs I've played, I don't, there's no surprises. I'm just like, oh, okay, they're doing this, they're doing that. It's solid, this works, the world's all right, whatever. But this game like actually has things I'm like, oh shit, they're actually doing this, kind of crazy. Plus, like it has the whole ship thing, which I think is really neat. There's like 9 ships in the game to unlock and all sorts of shit. Like it's just full of content and it has a lot of like stuff to keep you busy, which I think is my favorite thing about it because it's giving me that like, I got a little bit of time. I'm just gonna hop in there and knock out some of my basic shit, basic MMO stuff. If you play a certain MMO, any MMO regularly, you're going to get into this groove where you are just kind of completing certain things. It's nothing new or revolutionary there, but I think they do a good job at gamifying everything in the game to the point where it's really easy to just go, I'll work on this right now. I'll work on that. Even working on your house and decorating is a game. And so it's a really easy game to spend some time in.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It also is going to be good for me as well because, like, 14, in between patch cycles, content kind of lulls. Gives me an opportunity to play something else. I might still want to play an MMO, so it'll be there for that too. It actually launched at a perfect time because all the 14 content is mostly done by most people right now. So
yeah, I noticed because a bunch of people you play 14 with, as soon as you guys were done, me, Sarah, and Josh were playing Lost Ark while you guys were playing 14, and then I saw like 4 of you guys just like logging all at once. Lost Ark. I was like, the raid must be over.
Yeah, raid was over.
Because fucking everyone just hopped over real quick, and then like they're talking to a couple people who play 14. It seems like they're just like waiting for content right now. So
yeah, 14 is designed that way intentionally, though. Yoshi P doesn't want people no-lifing it, so
yeah, just kind of reconfirming what you said about like it's in a lull right now because that seems to be the case among many people. So. So yeah, good time for this to come out. Horrible time for this to come out because of the month. Yeah, there's plenty to play. And
he's also suffering from success, which is the MMO story these days.
Yeah.
Even New World, even though that fell off really hard.
Because people fucking want new MMOs. And I literally saw somebody fucking on Twitter as like a publication or something. I don't remember who the fuck it was. They were talking about the success of Lost Ark, and they're like, wow, people really want a new MMO. I'm like, bro, they've been wanting one for fucking years.
Not seen the fucking chaos that's been happening because of one of the like 2 MMOs. There's more than that, but let's be real here. One of the 2 main MMOs having trouble right now, and that caused a huge like need for an MMO because not everybody wants to play the competitor there. They want something more their style.
Oh sure, yeah. There's a bunch of people who didn't think they'd like Final Fantasy 14 who ended up liking, but there's some people who are just not ever going to be into
their style for
yeah.
sure.
And so there's a huge fucking void right now for certain people.
And then New World came out. Servers got hammered. Content wasn't there, and
janky amateur fucking problems.
Some bad mistakes were made, and they lost a ton of people. The game's not like completely dead. I think it still has about 40,000 concurrent players, but that's pretty low for an MMO.
40,000?
Yeah.
Man.
But they have the opportunity to fix it, but they have to regain trust at this point.
Plus Amazon, dude, they don't have an excuse like financially.
Well, people keep saying that about Lost Ark as well, but yeah, but that's more of a like realistic, grounded style MMO, which some people are looking for because we really don't have that, to be honest. So
we don't have any MMOs really, but yeah, we only have a couple.
Sure. So, and then the ones people are playing are all old. Like
yeah, all the popular ones right now are fucking years old.
10
like,
plus.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like the many times I've talked about the genre being dead. And it always seems to shock people when I say, not shock them, but like the concept of like the genre being dead is like, people are like, what? Like there's game. I'm like, no, dude, those games have been out for fucking ever. No one's making new ones. And now we're starting to see some. We're starting to see people test the waters. And Lost Ark came out in 2018 or some shit. So like, it's not even like brand new. It's new to us. But so sought after that so many people played the Russian version of this game already. There's so many people playing this game who already played it. So that's fucking amazing. But yeah, between Lost Ark and oh god, what's the New World. And the one coming out, Ashes of Creation,
looks super promising.
Looks cool.
I feel bad for them though because servers are probably going to hammer.
They're going to suffer from success too if the game sucks, because people at this point just want a new fucking MMO, and we are starting to get them. So I can't complain as much anymore, but that I'm seeing people like starting to talk about, oh, people really want new MMOs. I'm like, dude, fucking of course they do. That's nothing new.
People want multiplayer social experiences.
But that I'm hearing that in a more public sense means hopefully that people are going to take note that New World, even though it had issues, was a success at first. And
financially a success for sure.
Lost Ark is doing very well on Steam. So hopefully somebody who's got a budget and a talented team or is willing to make one is looking at that and going, wait, people want MMOs? Maybe we should make one. Yeah. In which I can say, yeah, no shit. Do it. Just make one. Yeah. God, I remember the days where there's like a new fucking MMO every week. And I was like, there's too many MMOs. And now I'm like, there's none.
Yeah, I got oversaturated for sure.
Yeah, it's wild. It's fucking crazy.
And I have the same problem that happened when COD blew up and everyone wanted to make a shooter. Is that a couple original games came out, but everyone was kind of chasing that
everyone wants a piece. Battle Royales.
Sure. And
survival games.
And, only a couple survived because they're the ones that actually brought something to the table versus just trying to chase what the other person had done. So
the ones with the passion, the ones with the ideas, the ones that get inspired, those are the ones that stick around. The ones that are chasing after it, some of them make money and their successes, but
they're just pump and dumps though.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I think of like Paladins or something like that.
Paladins doing really well.
Sure, but I mean when it first came out, like the comparisons were like it's just a ripoff, but it made its money. So people still play Paladins.
Oh yeah,
that's fucking
not
wild.
like a shit ton, but
that's
still
wild.
Still I've actually seen not a lot, but a couple streams of it. So.
Well, yeah, and I mean like to the point of like people with the passion or whatever, like battle royales, they're everywhere. They were. It feels like we're finally at a point where people are just kind of accepting which ones are the big dogs. But like in
the style you like, pretty much.
Yeah, but like Apex Legends, fucking still going strong.
They make so much money off the fucking game.
Yeah, and it's a solid, well-made game. It's one of the best battle royales out there. Because they looked at the genre and went, "We can add to this. We can do something. We can do something that's not being done." Anyway, I feel like I just keep. I feel like I just like keep ranting. Like I could take the thing of MMOs and just move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So,
well, I mean, it's just a general sentiment in the state of gaming, anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, the thing is in there, I find it hard to believe that most people wouldn't be interested in MMO as long as it fit within the confines of the type of game they like. Yeah. MMOs don't have to be World of Warcraft, as we learned when all the WoW clones died. So, you can have an isometric one. You can have third-person ones. You can have, first-person ones. All this stuff. Like, all this stuff can exist. You just have to have an idea and a passion for it and not come off as, I just want your money. Because gamers aren't, they're not stupid in that regard.
Yeah. Well, they're stupid in social ways, but not in like
if there's something
content.
If you want to make gamers like come together, rip them off.
Yeah, look at the NFT thing.
Yeah. All of a sudden, we all agree on something.
Yeah, everybody is on the same page on that one. So it's a beautiful thing to be like, hey, people are trying to rip all of us off. Yeah. We don't want that. So yeah. Anyway, we should probably wrap this conversation up. Lost Ark has been fun though, and like I said, I think we'd both recommend it.
Yes, but more importantly, I'm gonna say it's a free to play game. Give it a couple hours.
Yeah, check it out.
If you don't like it, you don't like it, man. So.
Or try a different class. Yeah. But that's every MMO. Anytime someone plays an MMO, like I don't like them, like check out another class though, because sometimes maybe you're just playing something you don't vibe with.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm going to keep comparing 14 as my game, but I love that game to death. But there are certain jobs, like I level them just to get that number, and I don't want to touch them again. So,
yeah.
That's just the way it is.
All right. Well, anything else you want to say on that? That is our impressions of Lost Ark, and check it out. So let us know in the comments, though, what do you guys think of Lost Ark? Are you playing it or not playing it? If you're not playing it, why aren't you playing it? Do you plan on playing it? Maybe you're on console and you're like, I can't play it, which is kind of shitty considering the game has controller support. Like, why isn't it on console? If you are playing, what do you think about it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you somewhere in between? What do you think about it as a free-to-play game? How do you think the content is so far? What level are you? What class are you playing? What are your aspirations in the game and in life? And are you doing the stronghold? Because everybody is not. Everyone I talk to is like, I'm not really doing the stronghold stuff.
I do mine every day.
Well, I've started doing mine every day, but I'm also at a point where, I have plenty to do, but now I just feel like less pressure. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go do the stronghold stuff for a little bit. I saw Chris in there doing that.
He's lucky it has an energy system, because otherwise he'd probably live in there.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
I also know there's features in there that affect outside of there too.
Yes.
So it's kind of important to not ignore it.
Yeah. Yeah, if it has purple missions, do them, because purple missions unlock features in the game. Yeah. So if you're getting purple missions, do them sooner than later, because there's whole features. There's even achievements that will not activate until you finish those. So do those purple missions. But yeah, let me know everything you're thinking about when it comes to Lost Ark in the comments below. All right. We got a couple videos to watch. And we're going to do that. So, as you guys know, I'm sure, Horizon Forbidden West is coming out very soon. We're all going to be playing it, and hopefully we're all going to be enjoying it. I've been hearing nothing but amazing things about it from all the people who are fucking playing it currently, early copies, and spoiling the shit out of it all over fucking Twitter. Stop doing that. It's so annoying. Anyway. And so with that coming out, we're going to watch a comparison video of the PS5 versus PS4 Pro versus PS4 performance, which is a technical review done by IGN. We're going to watch that to kind of see where it stacks up. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't check our positions on those windows, and it seemed to work out just fine. So for anybody listening, we have like face shots of us when we react to videos, and normally I have to line those up, and I didn't do it this time, and I'm glad it worked out. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna watch this and kind of get an idea of what to expect graphically from PS5, PS4 Pro, and PS4. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, but I've had people ask me, like, are they gonna run well on PS4? I'm like, fuck, hopefully, dude. But this is a first-party developer for
it's a
Sony
company.
So I don't think you're going to get much shenanigans. But I thought it'd be a fun video to kind of see what's up with this, especially with the concern also that a lot of people expressed early on that because they're doing development for two different consoles, that the PS5 version would get held back by the limitations. And in earlier generations of consoles, and we've talked about this before, I can see why that was a concern, something I would have been worried about myself. But nowadays, consoles are essentially PCs in which you can turn the graphics up and down. So you are getting the higher end version of that game and a lesser version on lower end consoles. So I don't think it would hold it back. But anyway, we're going to watch this and we're going to react to it. But before we do that, thoughts on Horizon Forbidden West, hype, and what are you going to play it on?
I mean, I'm picking it up, so there's that hype. I mean, I'm looking forward to playing it. I don't get overly hyped too often, and I'm gonna play on PS5. So
yeah, I'm also gonna play it on PS5. I'm really excited. I saw some pictures of Aloy, and she has like fucking
the joke of Twitter.
She has like fuzz on her skin, which I've never seen in a game.
Yeah.
And some dork, it's a meme now, but
he's
some
never seen it, period.
Yeah. some dork, I'm just gonna leave it there. Maybe he's not so bad. Asked why Aloy had a beard. And I'm sitting here looking at this going like, holy fuck, that's crazy detail. That you can see the fuzz on her skin if you look close enough. It's not even like super apparent. And this dude's like, why she got a beard? And people are like, this dude's never been close to a girl before. And then some chick on Twitter was like, we're fuzzy, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And it was like this whole joke, but you know, I looked at it, I'm like, that's funny. That guy's not running on a girl, whatever. But then like I'm just looking at the picture, I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy. They did not have to fucking add that.
I've probably seen that me about 15 times today.
That's why I'm trying to keep it like
Yeah.
kind of short with this, because I'm sure everybody's seen it, but more so it's relevant to the video we're going to watch, because they really went crazy on it. I actually saw a side-by-side picture of the PS4 version and the PS5 version and the PS4 Pro version. It's just pictures. And the PS5 version, super fucking detailed with the peach fuzz, but like on the face, but fucking on PS4, it's not there. So it's not even, it's just an added thing on fucking PS5. So it's really interesting. Yeah. So that's a little taste of what we're going to see here. I'm very excited for this game. I can't wait to play it. I'm going to try and beat it this weekend. I don't know if that's going to happen. And I'm, like I said, going to play it on PS5. It looks, from what I've seen so far, incredible graphically. And yeah, you ready to watch this?
Yep.
All right, this is Horizon Forbidden West, PS5 versus PS4 Pro versus PS4 performance review, a technical marvel by IGN. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Aloy has returned with a murder of new enemies and a flock of old friends for a brand new adventure, squeezing the very last watts of power from the sun-setting PS4 generation, whilst harmoniously kickstarting the PS5s. Have Guerrilla reinvented the wheel in Forbidden West? Let's dive in and find out.
Reinvented the wheel in what way? Are you talking
Excitement
about
levels
graphics
have
or
been
just
grown ever
gameplay?
since the first glimpse of Aloy's next
Buzzwords,
entry
baby.
was first
Yeah.
shown. Check out the complete IGN review to find out if all the hype has paid off. First things first, the most important, well, not really, the numbers game. The PS4 tops out at 1920 by 1080, but that is not the whole story, as it now appears to use checkerboarding to hit this level. The result is we can see some half-width counts and even a 900p height, although this may and is likely a breakdown in that reconstruction technique, which is almost impossible to decipher from the outside in. The very point of the techniques, to be honest. The reduction in pixel shading is the big saving here, but I'll talk about IQ shortly. The Pro is really the
snake was
refined
moving around.
version of the
It was
PS4,
lit up in
pretty
the
much
Pro
as
version,
expected,
and the
offering
light
the
was
sharper and cleaner
on
IQ as it
things,
now
though. With
renders
the
at
PS4
an
version, the
increased
light was more
3200
just
by
a glow,
1800.
and it was not on
A
the
reduction on the
surface of the thing.
previous
It's
3840 by 2160 checkerboard solution from the previous entry.
It's funny because the PS4
It again
version I
relies
think
on
looks
checkerboarding
great,
method to resolve
but
its
it's funny how
fine,
much
sharp,
better the
and
PS4
clean output,
Pro version
meaning
looks.
the improvement over the 1.8
Like it's
teraflop
sharper and the
PS4
colors
is
seem more defined.
substantial and resolves many of the issues I will cover shortly regarding the PS4 output. Finally, the big boy in the PS5 clearly uses its phenomenal power hike to offer two options: a full native 4K, which is clearly the sharpest and most visually impressive of all the modes, via its 30 FPS resolution mode, resolving any IQ issues with a sharp and stable image that is now genuinely blurring the lines between offline and real-time rendering. There are still a few sharp and shimmery edges on specular highlights, but again, that's the choice of a very light TAA solution used by the team. If you want 60 FPS though,
I'm honestly just
as
impressed with how
PS5
good the
players are
PS4
now
version
used
looks,
to
though.
after that Zero Dawn backwards compatibility patch last year, then the performance mode has you covered. The cost is now reverting to a similar pro-light checkerboard
Man,
output,
look at that
still at
fucking frame
1800p,
rate.
but now resolved via this temporarily accumulated method. The drop in pixel clarity is very minor, but it can be seen in high-frequency areas of the screen under movement, specifically within textures, thin foliage, reflective surfaces, and post effects such as screen space reflections. Although the doubling of the frame rates heavily mitigates this, within a minute or so the resolution delta fades away, largely helped by the temporal increase in pixels and fill rate within the same time. The game does use a minimal TAA solution that reconstructs a single.
There's a video that came out recently for
output with a mixture of
Cyberpunk's
FXAA
ray
on
tracing.
top.
And it was
It's
showing
not
before and
egregious
after,
with its
and it's
coverage, so they get no
huge
ghost
difference.
trail or
Yeah,
image blur that
huge
is
difference. It looks like
largely
amazing
key
with
to
full
the
ray tracing.
FXAA method.
But in the comments, this
The
guy's
solution
like,
is similar
"What
to
system is
Zero
this on?"
Dawn,
Someone's like,
which again
"PC."
used
And he's like,
FXAA
"Oh."
and TAA, which means on PS4 it can leave a shimmering and unstable image, often with the density.
I was looking, I was like,
foliage
"That's
and thin
not."
specular
there's-
edges
The consoles aren't
being
running
key
that,
areas
dude.
that stand
I
out.
haven't seen a game
Due
look
to
like
that
that.
lower base
Ray tracing
resolution
wise.
and shading, as mentioned, and the fuller minutiae
The, like,
of
the
screen
reflections were,
elements
like,
presents
incredible
a
in the
visually
video they
striking
showed.
but unstable IQ at times, even on a 1080p screen. In reality, though,
Look at the sharpness of the
sacrifices to
plants,
image
though.
quality are minor compared to the additions. Volumetrics are much better, more stable, and also receive projected shadows from characters. post effects more abundant with much better quality screen space reflections. Although these seem to be
honestly, the
mixed
biggest
with
things I'm
dynamic
noticing
projected cube maps
that
in
are
outdoor
missing is the
sections
lighting
to balance
effects are
the
just
GPU load.
absolutely
Possibly the biggest, though,
not
is the sheer
comparable.
increase in flora and fauna. The
and then,
density across the
frame rate.
world now is much
It's
higher
it's
than the
weird
previous
too
entry.
because with the lower
Here, though, they
frame
are
rate
first
and
of
the
all with a
slightly
vast amount.
blurrier, well,
Even
not
on the
slightly,
PS4,
but
the
you know, the
interaction
blurrier
levels have been
graphics, the less
increased,
textured
with the team
graphics.
clearly working on
The
aspects
PS4
myself and
versions
others
look like a
highlighted
video
in the
game,
first title.
and the
Long
PS5
reads
looks
of
like
grass still
CGI.
collide and sway as you walk
And I
through,
think
but
it's
almost
because the
all of
frame
the
rate,
bushes and
how
even
crisp it
grassy
is. It looks
areas
like
now
pre-rendered
push
almost,
aside
but the
and
frame rate
move
makes it
and
look like it
Aloy
was
runs, rolls, or
pre-rendered,
crawls
like it's
through,
it's
including lily
meant
pads
to
on
play at
water.
a certain speed. It looks like you're watching a cinematic. Whereas the PS4 is like, oh yeah, that's a PS4 game.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
All of this brings it more in line with the high settings on PC and is a testament to both the benefit of that GPU resource
Oh, this game's got
allocation
gyro
shift
aiming?
and the sheer
Which is
technical
interesting.
ingenuity of Guerrilla, a team that has long since been at the sharp end
Someone
of game
posted a video
technology and
showing how he
innovation.
aims doing that.
The Pro
Actually,
resolves
really
most of the
responsive.
IQ offense crimes you may have, whilst enhancing all of the rich, flamboyant, and almost dreamlike world that has been crafted here. The substantial uplift in resolution on the Pro really helps the image quality, as
Yeah,
does the
man,
enhancements to
if
other
you're
effects
if
and
you
screen
if you're
effects,
only playing this on
including an enhancement
PS4,
on LOD, which is pushed
I think
further
they
out
did you
than
a
PS4.
solid with this, man. Like
But
this
the PS5
still
just
looks
ramps
great.
all of this up across the visual menu. Sharper,
It's just
more
a
detailed textures, cleaner
definite
image quality,
difference
faster frame
when
rates,
you hop
denser
generations.
fauna, more effects and detail with higher polygonal objects. Further LOD, which you can see here, is significantly improved. Everything looks a lot denser and fuller, and therefore it reduces that pop-in as you're walking through the
I don't know who
world.
this guy is,
You
but he's the
still
only
get some
guy I've heard
pop-in
from
of
IGN
slight
sound like he knows
screen
what he's
space
talking
ambient
about.
occlusion and screen space shadows, which the title uses, but overall it's much better on the PS5, as are shadows themselves, sporting a much better soft feathered penumbra shadow and a further cascade shadow map. All of these visual settings are identical between resolution and performance mode, with the only difference being the fact that one runs at 60 and has a slightly lower resolution.
I think it's funny that resolution mode is a novelty.
Yeah.
It's just like this is what the game can look like, but you're gonna play it on performance mode.
Another welcome addition to the PS5
Some
version
people
is that hero lighting, which
who
now
aren't
runs in
necessarily,
gameplay and cinematics, which it doesn't run on the PS4 and the Pro. It enhances
the-
both the
I guess
character
the term
model of Aloy
gamers
and the material
would probably
quality
pick
throughout, and it blurs
the,
that line much closer between those
resolution
real-time
mode.
cinematics and
But anyway, I
gameplay.
don't regularly
It makes
plays
a
games,
significant
it's
leap
more
in
than likely
quality,
pick
certainly moving the
performance.
character from
So-
that gamey look you see on PS4 and Pro to this much
I
improved look
don't
on
know
the
for.
PS5.
I think
It
when
does have
Sarah
some
was
small
playing
issues
Ratchet and
causing
Clank, she was
Aloy to
playing it
glow
on
in
the
darker areas, which doesn't affect other characters.
highest
But
graphic
generally,
mode.
it is
Oh,
a
really?
welcome
I think
improvement
she
to visual
was.
fidelity.
I
This
could
is
be
a
misremembering,
cross-generational
but
title at heart, but
the
visually
game's
they have
like
improved significant
fantastic.
areas.
Oh, yeah.
It looks
It's
good on
difficult to say
both,
which
but
one
the
we're
resolution
most
mode
impressed
like
with. The
is
enhancements the
really
PS5
good looking
offers
with the
over
ray
other
tracing and
versions,
shit.
just
That
how
game also
good
has a
that
fucking
base
performance
PS4
ray
version
tracing mode
still
though,
is.
which is really cool.
I think that's what I played it on.
That's what I played on too. I don't know
Obviously,
why
there's
you'd
a
play
huge
it on
amount I want to
performance
discuss
mode
on
if you
this
can
title,
play it
but I need to keep
with
things
ray
moving
tracing at
forward.
60 frames
and
per
the next
second.
area is
Yeah.
performance.
Maybe if you're trying to
The
get more than
PS4,
60
as of
frames, I
patch
don't know.
1.03, which might even be newer by the time the game
Well,
launches, it's
guarantee no
equally, if
hiccups.
not better
Yeah.
than Zero Dawn. Some minor skips and dips happen from the opening 3 hours of the title, but
About a solid
overall
30
it's
for the most
pretty
part.
mild. With such a large game with so many dynamic areas though, it may have some worse areas, but from my playthrough I was more than impressed with both the quality and fidelity of the PS4 version.
It dropped one frame
The
in one
Pro
explosion,
is largely the
which
same
is
story, but
totally
it can
acceptable.
present some minor skips and stutters into 16, 33 and even 66 milliseconds. These are, though, from these tested heavier sections, very brief and imperceptible to almost all players. The root cause here is not easy to pick up. It is obviously related to things like GPU, dense alpha overdraw, and particle effects, but it could equally
looks
be
good.
just memory allocation issues which is causing these mild
Looks like a
stutters.
good game.
In general
Visually.
play, though, I never really felt anything bad at all, aside one element of the gameplay which I won't touch on here for spoilers that can have some small performance hiccups, but overall the Pro version is impressive as well.
Super impressive.
PS5's dual modes offer obviously two options, and the 60 FPS and 30 FPS both do a
60,
great
baby.
job in delivering on that target. Again, picking some of the most stressful sections I could find in the opening few hours that are not full of spoilers, it holds 30 FPS pretty much as good as the PS4 Pro does with all the enhancements I mentioned. It can generally skip again into that 50 millisecond and 16 millisecond spikes up and down, and it can drop as low as the high.
It's funny because I think the colors and stuff, like the definition of the fire
smooth as silk in that 60
on the
FPS
resolution
mode.
mode,
And the 30
just
FPS
looks
one
like
never stutters and judders heavily.
visually better,
Aside
but the
those sections I
motion and
mentioned
60 frames
related
looks
to
more
travel, that's all I'm
realistic.
gonna hint at.
The way the fire's moving.
Outside
it's
of this, though,
so
the
weird.
60 FPS mode is the one you would most likely choose because the
Yeah.
deficit to the resolution, although obvious when you flick over, very quickly becomes not an issue. And aside from heavy, stressful battle sections, it generally holds 60 FPS to never feel anything but smooth and responsive.
So
And it's
lush.
certainly the one that I would recommend. So with all these highs, there is one area that is slightly disappointing loading. Still very fast at half the time of the Pro, but don't expect rapid single-digit loading times, and respawns can take a few seconds. Still impressive considering the size and scale of the game. Forbidden West had a huge level
That's a
of
pretty big
expectation
difference.
leveled at it,
Yeah.
and Guerrilla have not let anyone down, least of all PS4 owners. And if you like these deep dives into game technology and performance, then keep it IGN, and we'll see you on the next one.
I think
Awesome,
that's
bro.
still faster than Monster Hunter Worlds load times.
Oh, fucking probably, dude. It's amazing that they prioritized making sure it ran so well on PS4. It's kind of cool to think that a big title like this is still coming out on last generation's console in a way that's this good. It's like a brand, like it's not like it is a brand new game, but like I'm just glad that it didn't get forgotten. Like
Yeah.
I know some people, like I mentioned earlier, kind of were upset that this isn't like a full-fledged next gen game, if that's an argument nowadays. But
Is it not?
but they were able to achieve performance on both, while obviously really boosting visuals on the PS5 the way it should be. But it's honest, like they said in the title, a technical marvel. It's kind of amazing
Yeah.
to see this game running so well and everything, and having such a big difference graphically. But then again, I'm a PC player, so I just see that they turn the graphics up and down on it. So
Right.
anyway, what did you think?
I mean, honestly, my takeaway is mostly going to be for the PS4 version because I already knew what the PS5 version looked like.
That's what we've been seeing, yeah.
And yeah, I'm if anything, I'm just happy for people who have a PlayStation. You're getting the game with almost no downsides. So I think that's great.
Especially in a time where it's still hard to get a PS5 for
Yes.
certain people. Like it's
they boosted production of PS4s because of it. So
yeah. You're still going to be able to. You're not going to have to sit around waiting to be able to play this game while people spoil it for you. You're going to be able to play it alongside everybody else. Like it's win-win.
yeah, and you know, I guess I'm not like super surprised because Guerrilla is a company of Sony, so they're gonna have the absolute know-how on how to get the most out of PS4 anyways.
Yeah.
Same as, you know, when a God of War comes out, if they have a version on both, which I don't think they're doing, but if they did, the PS4 version I know would run fine. That team makes Sony games, like, so they know that hardware.
Yeah.
Versus like someone who makes a game for everybody, they're trying to make a game for multiple hardware. It makes it more complicated. So
What I think is nice about being a first-party developer for Sony as well is like they have a tight communication with Mark Cerny, who is the engineer, one of the engineers, leading engineer of these consoles.
Yeah.
So if you have like, you know, technical stuff you need to know about, you have the dude who worked on it.
Yeah.
To help you out on that. So I mean that's
yeah, your support line is just the best it's gonna get. So
yeah, 100%. I think that's why they're able to work this out so well.
yeah. Versus like to bring up the example of Cyberpunk, that was a game made for a lot of platforms. And so
originally intended for one a long time ago, and then eventually on accident, I say accident loosely, made into a next gen game, and then retroactively tried to work on older consoles that was originally intended for by a company that had never made that kind of game before, and released on everything.
on a lot of different types of hardware.
Yeah.
PC alone is a lot of different types of hardware. So, So
I think people really don't think about that.
Yeah. I mean, prime example is I've brought it up multiple times on the channel, but like I can't play New World. It melts my graphics card.
Yeah.
Versus that's a pretty small percentage of people. Most people can play the game just fine.
It's like if you release like an app on iPhone versus Android.
Yeah.
Like iPhone, they all work the same. So you got one thing to work towards, outside of limitations of the performance of it. But they're all gonna have the same infrastructure. Whereas like Android, everyone's making some kind of Android phone.
Yeah, pick your suites or whatever name each version has. Like they all run on different ones, and they all have different performances. And stuff,
even with my Z Fold, some apps are like, this might not work with your phone very well.
Yeah,
and it does, but it's not. It doesn't have like functionality of the full screen and shit.
Yeah, that just comes down to many different people making something versus, in this case, one person making something for the company they work for. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it looks cool. I mean, I was already going to pick it up anyways. One of those games that didn't need to be sold to me. So
yeah, I'm kind of, I've had people like talk to me about this game. Like I'm kind of done talking about the game. I'm just ready to play it. Like I don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah.
Everyone already knows my opinion on it. And I probably know your opinion, even if you haven't told me. So yeah, but this probably being the last time we talk about this game before we actually play it. Mostly kind of want to check in because, there's been some games that have had some performance issues on different things. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to see where this game stands. And it seems like you're in safe hands with Guerrilla. What we're seeing here is really showing that they made this game work on everything. And they made it work to its best ability and its best visual fidelity to what you're going to be playing it on. It looks good on PS4. Looks like it plays just fine on PS4. It looks pretty impressive on PS4 Pro. There's actually quite a bit of a difference between the two. And then we've all seen the PS5 version, and it looks fucking amazing. So yeah, I'm really stoked that they just guaranteed really made a game that is going to be accessible to anybody who's on a Sony console. Yeah. Regrettably, obviously, if you're not on a Sony console, you're gonna have to wait till they release this later on PC, apparently. But yeah, if you are, you're gonna be able to play it on anything, and that's really cool. Especially with the amount of doubt out there nowadays with games and stuff like that. I'm glad somebody could deep dive and show everybody that it can be done, essentially.
Yeah.
Though they do have the advantage, like we went over, that it's a first-party company, and they got resources that other people might not have. But yeah, this didn't really drive hype for me in any way. I'm about as hyped as you could be, and yeah, just really stoked. And I like tech, so it's interesting to see, what shortcomings, not shortcomings, what things they limited to make it run on the PS4. It's interesting to see the comparisons of graphics, the soft shadows as we're seeing on the right here, and the more harder shadows on the left, a lot easier to render and stuff like that. So it's always really interesting to watch. And the frame rate was really interesting to watch as well, because even though it did have a couple dips, those are really brief and not really something you're going to see too much while you're playing. So it wasn't like full on lag. And it's reassuring to see the 60 frames per second on PS5, because that's how I'm going to want to play it. But yeah, looking great, and looks like it's going to play good on everything and look good on everything. So that is awesome. Anything else you want to say on this? All right, let us know in the comments what do you guys think about the comparison between the PS5, PS4 Pro, and PS4. Which one are you going to play it on? I was going to say, which one do you think it looks best, but that's a dumb question. What are you going to play it on? What do you plan on playing it on? Are you going to play it on the Pro, play it on the PS4, play it on the PS5? And what'd you think about what we saw here? Does it look good to you? Does it look like it could be better looking? Are you not impressed? What do you think about those frame rates? And yeah, are you excited to finally play Horizon Forbidden West? Let me know everything you're thinking about in the comments below. All right, so as you guys probably know already, Cyberpunk has got a big update 1.5, that has come out as of right now, and it has a lot of stuff it's offering. Some people are even jokingly saying that Cyberpunk has officially left early access with this patch, which I think, as a joke, is a fair and funny joke. We both played on PC, so we didn't suffer through the real issues that some people, I mean, in contrast to the last game we just looked at, there's some real issues with the variables of consoles.
The older the hardware got, for sure.
The game was straight up broken on the original PS4. And so anyway, this update is supposed to address a lot of that. It's also supposed to bring the actual next-gen upgrade, where the game will not be the PS4 version on your PS5 or the Series S or Xbox One version on your Series X. I'm just getting confused with the names. But it will actually be one that is made for the new age consoles. So it's very exciting. It's also adding new content, apartments, stuff like that. You guys, I'm sure, have heard the details, but we found a video. We're not going to watch the full presentation. There's a hour-long presentation. I think it's like an hour and a half long presentation called Red Stream by CD Projekt Red, where they go over every single detail and they do their typical stream talk. And if you guys want us to watch that, I'd be open to doing that as a TLG Reacts. But for Tastecast, seemed like a lot of time to devote to one video. So this is a video via somebody named Juicehead, who has like 600,000 subs. So they're known to somebody. And this is their breakdown of Cyberpunk 2077. And it's called just got a 60 gigabyte new update. In it, he details what they added. And yeah, we're going to watch it and get filled in. I already know quite a bit about it, but maybe I'll have some stuff to tell me that I don't know about. And yeah, we will talk about what they've done to this game. Before we do that, real quickly, what was your thoughts on Cyberpunk? What do you think about them still working on the game to try and correct the wrongs of the past? And overall thoughts.
I mean, I enjoy the game. It's not quite as much as I had originally wanted it to be, but I still wasn't. I wouldn't say I was disappointed with it.
Yeah.
But again, kind of similar to when we were just talking about Horizon, I don't tend to get super hyped about things anyways. I try to keep myself pretty tempered. That being said, I did have fun with it. It definitely was obvious there was stuff cut out of it when playing it. And you could see, like with doors that you could interact with, but they literally will just never open. That was obviously planned to be something. And then NPCs, though improved when we played last, still kind of did some really dumb stuff every once in a while. But those are things that don't really bother me that much, to be honest. So, but yeah, I had a fun time with it. As far as them still working on it, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, they could work on it for as long as they want and keep adding stuff to it. That honestly just makes it a bigger and
No
bigger.
Man's Sky route.
Well, and eventually, how much stuff could they let you do in the game? I don't see that as a bad thing at all. Do I want that to be the standard in gaming? Hell no. I don't want every game to be a fucking comeback story. I want games to work when they come out.
I want every game that needs to be a comeback to make a comeback. I want to celebrate that, but I agree. I don't want
That shouldn't be the standard.
Don't want that to be the release cycle of games.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want games to be Battlefield 2042, and then I'm like, where's the other half of the game?
Yeah.
Why'd you release it?
Yeah, so
And then hope they're gonna fucking have a comeback. I want them to, but I don't want this situation.
yeah, agreed.
So anyway,
But other than that, I mean, I'm more than willing to revisit a game. I only have a hard grudge towards a handful of things in the gaming industry. So, but they were just blatantly and for years awful to their community. So,
yeah. Yeah, I liked Cyberpunk 2077. I actually loved it. I thought it was really good. Had some shortcomings for sure. That was definitely due to a shaky production and some bad decisions made by management. We all know the story. But underneath all the rough stuff, I think there was a very passionately made and dedicated game that is an experience that you still really can't have anywhere else. And so, I played it, I beat it, I liked it a lot. It was a blast. First time I played it, had a lot of things wrong with it. Not nearly as much as the people on console, but I was noticing weird shit like every 5 minutes. Last time I played it, it was a buggy experience, but it was much better. So a new update to address mostly bringing it to next gen consoles, which I think needed to happen, and optimizing it for older consoles. I did read that they worked on making it run better on older consoles, which is absolutely needed and should be the priority. People are like, "Where's the new content?" No. They got to make the game work correctly to the people they sold it to. They have to right that wrong. They have to. That's the biggest thing. But yeah, with the fixes that they put in there, I hear they worked on the AI, which is my biggest complaint of Cyberpunk is the AI. And it's not even like it wasn't even a deal breaker for me. It was just the biggest thing that was like, that could be better.
Yeah.
I if that was even a little better, it would make the game so much better. Well, apparently they worked on it, and that has me really excited, and that affects me over on PC. So this makes me want to re-download the game and check it out. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with them continuing to support the game. They got to right the wrongs, man. Like a lot of us were very satisfied with the game. But there's a lot of people who, got the raw end of the deal. They didn't get what they were hoping for. And a lot of that was justified with how broken it was for certain things. So, yeah, I'm glad that they're still working on it. I'm glad this is a substantial chunk of update. It's apparently it's a 60 gig patch, so that's really fucking crazy. And I'm really excited to find out all the details on it. But yeah, has me curious.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we watch this?
Nope.
All right, let's jump into it. This is, again, if you want to go check out this dude, if you like what he says here, this is Juicehead. He needs the subs. He has 600,000 of them already. He needs more, so go check him out. And Cyberpunk 2077 just got a 60 gigabyte new update. In 3, 2, 1, and go.
So it's finally time. Cyberpunk 2077's patch 1.5 is finally here. And here. You can actually download the update right now on all systems. For next-gen consoles, it seems like it's going to be a little over 60 gigabytes in size. And for PC, it's going to be about 40 gigabytes in size. So basically, you're downloading an entire new game here. And actually, for PS5 users, you are quite literally downloading a new game. This will not be an update to your previous copy of Cyberpunk, but rather a separate download that you're going to have to manually start by going into your library. It's still free, you don't have to buy anything, but just note, if you're on PS5, don't just hope this will happen for you. You have to do some stuff here. And in this video, what I'm going to do is explain to you what's different on a high level, the overview of what you can expect and what you should go try out. I'm going to have an in-depth video after spending a ton of time in this update and actually getting through the nitty-gritty. There's actually a ton of secrets in this update, but also, as we'll talk about in this video, there's some surprising changes and changes that won't benefit everyone. So depending on which copy of the game you have, you'll actually have some variances here, which is going to be pretty interesting and pretty important, as well as, again, there's a ton of secrets and some things not even mentioned during their live stream that are only found in the patch notes, which, let's be honest, you probably don't feel like reading all of this. So to kick things off, this patch basically has 3 different parts, and not all platforms are getting all of the parts, so pay attention here. If you are on a next-gen system, the PS5 or Xbox Series S/X, you'll get almost everything. Xbox Series S users technically get gypped on one part, but the 3 new things are the new patch 1.5 itself, the next-gen upgrade, so the game will now run natively on those consoles and has a variety of visual and other improvements, and 4 new DLCs. If you're on next-gen, you'll basically get all of this new content. If you're on PC, you'll just get the update as well as the 4 new DLCs. You don't actually get the next-gen version, obviously, and naturally last-gen consoles get the short end of the stick here in more ways than one, though. Obviously, they're not getting the next-gen upgrade, but they are getting all of the new DLCs, although they are only getting getting parts of patch 1.5. It's not totally clear how much was cut out here. CDPR put up this graph where it basically describes how improved crowd reactions are not coming to the last gen of consoles. So if you play on Xbox One or PS4, you're not getting some of the AI updates. They just listed improved crowd reactions. That's incredibly vague. There's a ton of updates and changes around AI and even several around the crowds and NPC behavior around you. So maybe it really is just this one specific thing, but I have a feeling
that may be disappointing too, but I'm glad they're being like transparent as fuck now.
Not had content
they released like 30 minutes
consoles,
of like gameplay.
Likely to continue in a way.
Because that was one thing people complained about. They didn't see enough gameplay before it came out, so they felt like they got gypped.
Hardware. During their live stream earlier today, they actually mentioned some of the memory streaming issues.
Yeah, there's a trial, but it's only next gen.
So with the next gen update on a surface level, this is really big. It makes it so that Cyberpunk 2077 just runs natively on your next gen system. If you have an Xbox Series X or S, or if you have a PS5, the game is now actually running on that system. Where before, what was happening was, if you're on a PS5, let's say, you were using backwards compatibility to play the PS4 version, which means that there's just going to be a ton of upgrades and changes because you are now fully taking advantage of your system's hardware. It'll now be closer to the PC version with better crowds, better visuals, and a bunch of other background improvements. Although more explicitly, the game now has two new settings, a performance mode and a visual mode on the Xbox Series X and PS5.
Fitting.
You can choose performance and you'll get the overall upgrades as well as 60 FPS, or if you choose the visual mode, you'll actually get ray tracing. The background footage you're seeing is all performance mode gameplay, so that's why you'll notice not as visual of an upgrade, but better FPS. Unfortunately, Xbox Series S users actually get gypped here as you just have a 30 FPS mode with dynamic resolution scaling. You get the other benefits of the update overall as well as the DLCs, but you're not getting 60 FPS and you are not getting any ray tracing. PS5 also has some pretty notable exclusives like adaptive trigger support. The controller speaker is now actually going to be used like for phone calls, as well as haptics during romance and other scenes, but literally during romance scenes in Cyberpunk, if you're on a PS5, your controller will vibrate in certain ways. This is actually the dev that added in. He seems very happy about this. But also, as I mentioned before, there's some drawbacks to the PS5 version, not only upgrades. You also have to download a new version of the game, and sadly, since you are not updating the old version and downloading a new version, this means that you're going to have to not only transfer over your saves manually, but also your trophies or achievements won't actually carry over. So if you platinum Cyberpunk on the PS4 version and are now playing on PS5, you don't have any trophies anymore. You have to redo all of that. True. And although the next gen update isn't coming,
that would be server side anyway. If you already got the trophies, they has nothing to do with your save
now, which is pretty handy, as well as AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution support was added. So if you are trying to use
because I would assume it'd have to connect to the PSN server to tell that you got those trophies.
Yes, and is definitely worth testing out. The 4 new DLCs added are pretty interesting. These are totally free and will be downloaded to the game with this update, but you have to activate them yourself. Character editing is finally here. You can edit your appearance in the mirror of your apartment. This is the full-on character editor like you get at the beginning of the game largely. And although that's the core of this new DLC, this update overall also adds in a bunch of additional ways to edit your character. You can have red lipstick now. You can make some other modifications that you couldn't previously, as well as new options in some of the old categories. There are new poses in photo mode. Some of these are just for you, V. Some of these are for Johnny when you're doing that Johnny flashback scene. So when you're actually playing as him and you go into photo mode, you could do specific poses for him. What's new at Wilson's is a pretty interesting one. It'll actually overhaul and give a bit of a visual upgrade to Wilson's next to your apartment, but also it would actually add 2 new weapons to the game. A new AR with the Umbra, as well as the Guillotine, which is a SMG. They look cool, but they're really just 2 new typical power weapons. They're going to pop up specifically at Wilson's all the time, but also will be distributed throughout the world. So you'll find other places with these just consistently here.
Horrible month.
Fact, even though this
doesn't think I saw somebody's like they had to release another fucking game in February.
Interesting category of weapons in Cyberpunk. There's probably more coming. Based off past leaks, there's actually weapon packs for all of the weapon categories. So hopefully more on the horizon. And this also brings 4 new scopes into the game, as well as 10 new muzzle attachments. And the biggest DLC by far is apartments. This will make it so you can not only actually customize the visuals of V's apartment, that being the traditional one, for 10,000 eddies, and you have 6 different options to choose from, each of these being 10,000. although naturally you can only apply one at a time, and you can do this via V's in-apartment computer, or alternatively, using V's in-apartment computer, or by just going to these new locations, you could actually buy 4 new apartments, and you could buy all 4 for a total of 5 apartments for you personally. These are all in different districts, they are at different price points, and with vastly different themes. Seems like
cool.
they're
That's cool.
majorly focused around some of the various things of that district and kind of going to align with how you roleplay in this game, like a corporal apartment. And interior-wise, these are very, very different. But let's transition to the most important section here, and that is what is actually going on with this major new update. Patch 1.5 in its entirety. Your apartment will actually now have new interactions and reasons to actually go there outside of just customizing it. Like sleeping will actually give you plus 20% experience gain for your skills for an hour, as well as taking a shower will allow you to regen health during combat for an hour. AI got a bunch of improvements
That's
to be
interesting.
smarter and
Yeah,
more
that's interesting.
reactive, partially with combat AI. It seems like they now have, to some degree, more tools in their arsenal. They'll notice when you're flanking them, they're going to rely on cover more. They will dodge, block, and reload better and smarter
Good.
than before. And overall, they'll be a larger threat to you, but these behaviors will also vary from faction to faction. The animals, for example, may be more reckless and aggressive compared to other factions.
Remember when I
that'll
first
play
played it, so
safer
this is
and lean
before
back.
the
All
last time I
various
played it with the
factions have different
updates.
variables for ranged versus melee AI.
Enemies would just,
Followers
like,
are
I was inside
stronger
of a
and they can't
store,
die,
and
but
the
if
enemies
they take
kept
enough
walking
damage, they'll
past
be
the door
temporarily
left and right. They
disabled.
couldn't figure out how to
Crowds
get
no
in the
longer
door.
despawn when
So I
combat
just
starts
shoot 'em
and
as
you
they
look
walked by.
away. As well as if you actually point guns into crowds, sometimes certain NPCs will actually react and fire back at you or react in general.
good.
Once combat starts, those random NPCs in cars will actually do things now. They can go into this almost rage or panic mode where they'll actually just start driving erratically. They might run over other pedestrians, smash
Yeah,
into other cars, or even jump onto
You
the
need some
sidewalk
kind
to
of
get away
reaction,
from you,
because if you're
or
just sitting
they
there
could
shooting,
go
everybody's just kind of like
unconscious.
looking
I
around
really
like,
don't
whoa,
get
what's
this change
happening?
at all. I don't know
It
how
kind of takes
these
you out
two
of the
even
situation where
remotely
like, holy
similar. I guess
shit.
they have,
Nah,
like, a
man, they're
panic
just used
attack
to
and
it.
just pass out.
Yeah, maybe the future's so fucked. They're like, ah, fuck, another one, dude. Whatever, dude. The world sucks so bad, I don't even care what happens.
As well as a ton of new mechanics around this. You do burnouts, donuts, and even drifting to some degree, as well as motorcycles have neon rims. The perk tree is completely
Those rims are
overhauled.
pretty
You
dope.
actually got
Those
all of
rims
your
are very
perk points
cool.
refunded to you. So if you play an existing character, you'll notice all of your perks refunded, as well as a ton of new and completely changed perks. This also applies
Really?
to clothing item mods. Mods got completely reworked with clothing, and all of them are going to be removed from your existing clothing, so you have to redistribute them, as well as certain clothing mods will actually only be applicable to certain pieces of clothing going forward. An example, evasion is kind of removed from this game and is now completely different in 2 separate stats. You can now
there New Game
cancel the
Plus on
reveal
this?
position hack if you have a certain type of cyberware, or by damaging
I don't
the
remember.
armor
Sure.
doing this. Enemy NPCs
I
can
would
actually
assume.
spawn
Let us know in the
with
comments.
camo. You cannot use cyber psychosis on cyber psychos anymore. You can actually text some of your romance partners, and there's some additional interactions at those romance partners' apartments, like sleeping with them. You can reject phone calls from people you don't want, and you can actually make it so certain people around certain gigs will never call you. Fixers now have a reputation system and a set amount of jobs available at one time. Not
Fuck.
everything
I
available
feel
right
like I
off the
gotta play
bat.
this.
The more jobs you do for them, the more rep you gain, the more jobs you unlock. And at the end, if you complete every job, you actually unlock a special item from that fixer. Weather is going to vary more often and more consistently now. There's less loot in the world. There'll be less loot lying around, as well as they're actually dropping support for the NVIDIA 700 series of GPUs and Windows 7. The Windows 7 support drops on June 15th. And that's really just some of the big stuff. There's actually a lot more. There's some stuff we've seen in the gameplay.
I have
that I want
Windows
to
7 on my
investigate
second
as I get
PC, and
into this,
fucking-
as well as there's actually a bunch
tried
of
to
secret
play
interactions.
Lost
Even just
Ark
in
on
the
there, and I was
patch notes,
like,
they mention how
this doesn't
some of
have
these
something
secret
that we need.
interactions or quests
I was
added
like,
won't be
fuck.
on the old
Yeah,
gen
DirectX
console.
11.
So seemingly they were
Yeah, it
somewhat
was something
needy
else,
that
though.
they could
It was like a
add
specific
into the
file,
limitations on
but
last
it
gen,
probably had to do with
only
that,
on
for
PC
sure.
and next gen, as well as secret bug fixes. They mention how the bug fixes in the patch notes are not comprehensive. So even if the bug fixes
This all just
look a
sounds
bit
like
smaller than they did compared to that epic one we got with
content
patch
that
1.3, that
I
might
feel
actually
like should have been in the
reflect
game,
It'll take
and I'm
several
glad
days to
it's
test all
here.
this. I'm
But
going
it's
to
just
have a
interesting, so I'm
full
like,
deep dive
all those things are
video
cool,
on
man. That
what
would've been
patch
dope if that was in the
1.5
game
brings to
already.
the table, how good it
But,
actually is coming. Until
you
then,
know,
you
a
can
game
try
getting
this out.
better,
You can actually
I'm
try
not
it
gonna
out for
complain
free
about.
for 5 hours if you want to. Hopefully you found this informative. Hopefully it gives you a nice overview of what is actually new, what is actually added, and what
That
you
trial's
should be
fucking
trying out, at
huge,
least
because
initially. But
there's
until next
people
time, I
who-
thank you all again for watching, and I hope to see you all later.
who either felt burned by the game or fucking didn't play it because they heard all the hype, negative feedback. Bunch of people out there who might not feel inclined still to like pick this game up again. or pick it up at all for the first time. And so offering people even a 5-hour trial that you can transfer your save over is a really good gesture, in my opinion. But also, they made their money on this game already.
yeah.
So they don't need to like, hopefully they buy it. There's already like crazy sales in this game a while back. But I think it's a good faith effort to be like, look, like, you want to check the game out, check it out. And then if you like where you're at in the game in 5 hours, you want to keep playing it, then you can buy it. I think it's a good step in the right direction. So what do we think?
I mean, obviously the quality of life to, like, AI and stuff like that is welcome. That's especially for more people who do tend to prefer open world games to be like kind of a live-in feel. For me, more of the system stuff was interesting, like the fixers having like a set amount of quests, and then there is a guaranteed reward after doing all those. That's really attractive, actually, to me. It does also give more reason to like do that side content. I also really like the fact that you can buy different apartments and stuff like that. Because the one thing I thought was always weird is and having reasons to be there. Because like I always thought it was weird, like in a lot of the early footage, there was not any vocal emphasis on it, but a lot of visual emphasis on your apartment. But then it was very like underutilized.
Well, you just kind of like start there and then you never go back to it.
Unless you want to do some RP stuff, but you're not playing with people, so it'd be purely for yourself.
I'm saying in my experience, I never went back to my apartment unless I had to.
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
Versus now, you're getting ready to do a hard mission, you can go, well, I want hit point regeneration, so I'm going to go back to my apartment, take a shower real quick. It's just a neat way to handle, like, I guess, buffs and stuff like that. Yeah, that and being able to like text your contacts and stuff like that. Be able to disable calling, because one thing that drives me nuts in every open world game, period, is constantly being like, "Hey, I got a mission for you," and then 5 minutes later, same person, "Hey, I got a mission for you." Shut up, man! Like I know.
Yeah, you do get called a lot in this game, and I think it's kind of funny after the lessons that you would assume the industry should have learned from Grand Theft Auto 4. It seemed like CD Projekt Red didn't play that game or something, because the amount of times I was getting called in Cyberpunk, I was like, dude, shut the fuck up, man.
So
I
being able
get
to
it.
That is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just overall, it's just good to see. I hope they continue to add stuff to the game. I never did beat it, so it'd be nice to actually revisit at some point. It's not a priority. Just like I keep telling myself I'm going to go back to play No Man's Sky, and sometimes I do. I just never commit any time to it, so I need to just like do that at some point for both games.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else?
No.
Overall, I'm really happy with everything I heard here just now. It's a step in the right direction, and it sounds like a really solid step. I don't know if they have intentions of like continuing to push this even further, but I hope they do. First off, when it comes to having it run natively for Xbox Series and PS5, that's really cool, because you got these consoles and you're playing the older versions of this game, and that's not that great. So I'm glad they've essentially given you something closer to the PC experience. With the PS5, they've given you the haptic feedback, so it feels like you're playing like a PS5 game. They even got creative with it, so I'm glad to see in the production of this game, or the development of this game, they're not worrying as much about holy shit, we gotta fucking fix this game, which I'm sure they were, but they're also thinking about like, well, let's do what other devs get to do, and like get to think creatively about what you can do with the PS5 controller. So I'm glad they're at that point where they can start, having fun with stuff like that.
Sorry.
The added content is awesome. It's all small things here and there, but it's enough to make me intrigued. That they added new weapons, new scopes, new barrel attachments is really fucking cool. Again, the AI thing, I want to start this game up just to check it out, because that was my biggest complaint about the game, personally, is I thought the AI was robotic. And, you know, in a world that looks so cool to me, the NPCs were so vacant, especially just ones walking around. Like, it just looked like a backdrop. It didn't seem like I was with people in the city. And then in combat, it seemed kind of like they didn't get what was happening. So I'm glad they're addressing that. The apartments is cool. I'm not super excited about it. I'm more excited about that they give you reasons to be in the apartment. But I'm not complaining either. I'm glad they added 4 new apartments. I'm glad you have another thing to work towards. In a game where you can buy cars, you should be able to buy apartments. And I'm glad they're all different themed. But I'm really excited that they have some role playing elements to sleeping and taking showers. Hopefully there's some more stuff going on there as well. But that's awesome. Actually, you know, if you're nearby your house, I should probably stop by and get those fucking buffs real quick. It's really cool. I'm very, very, very curious about what they did with the perk system. I liked the perk system, but some of the perks felt kind of weak, and that they've added new ones and retooled other ones, and gave you perk points back.
Same with the mods.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that, but it's awesome. I'm really stoked about that. And then I think the mod system felt kind of weak, so I'm glad they did something with that. I'm really curious about that as well. You know, both these systems worked, but they weren't that great. And so perk system was fine, but it had some weaknesses. Mod system not that great. So I am really excited to see what they've done with that. There was another thing too. I forgot what it was. I thought sounded really cool, but all in all, this sounds really, really awesome. I'm mostly excited for people on the consoles. It does sound like on the PS4, you're not getting that much more, but it does seem like you're getting some performance improvements. One of the videos I watched on Twitter was showing a difference between the old version and the newer version, and the lighting looked better, which is cool. And I know they've made improvements to like crowd density and stuff like that. That was something that was a big problem on PS4, I guess. But I mean, I never saw it and I didn't play it on there. Though I do have a PS4 copy around here somewhere. I should fucking throw in there. I'm also glad that the upgrade's free. It should be, but I'm glad it is. It's interesting that you're essentially downloading a brand new copy, though, of the PS5 version and the Xbox Series version, because essentially it is. You didn't have that version. You had the PS4. You were emulating the PS4 version. So, and yeah, overall everything sounds really cool. And they've added more interactive stuff, like being able to visit people you have like romantic stuff going on with, to do shit with. For anyone who's trying to RP that world, that's immersion. I'm most excited about the AI thing, though. Like, I'm just glad they did something with that. That was like the biggest thing I was disappointed with. But yeah, all in all, very cool. I'm really happy to see this, and I will have more to say on it once I've actually played it, because I think this is enough of a chunk to get me to return to the game, because I was playing it, I was liking it, I loved it when I played it, but when I beat it, I was like, I'm done now, and I'll come back later, maybe. But now I'm like, you changed the game in some ways, especially when we start fucking with the perk system and mods. I'm like, okay, so the game's gonna be different now, to a certain extent. I don't know how much, but it's gonna have something. I also fucking love that they added small things like being able to peel out, which you should have been able to do that in the first place, or do donuts, but also like the neon lighting, the rims, yeah. Very cool looking, very cyberpunk looking. So yeah, all in all, very cool looking. Very, very excited to check this out. Anything else you want to say? Mm-mm. All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys think about the update. Have you guys had a chance to check it out? Is this enough of a reason for you to either return or experience the game for the first time, possibly? Are you going to give it a go if you didn't give it a go? Or maybe you bought it and refunded it early on. Are you going to return to it? What's the features that are that have you most excited, and what would you like to see them add still? Maybe there's something that they're missing that you'd like to see put into Cyberpunk. Let me know everything you think about in the comments below, and yeah. It's time again where we revisit prior episodes and read your comments. If you want your comment read for sure, type in hashtag AskTLG on your comment. It makes it easier for us to find these comments and also makes us prioritize them. Otherwise, I pick at random. We had a couple comments on multiple videos, but I have two of them because they're bigger, so I'm going to just do those ones this time around. And those were on the problem with NFTs in gaming and how to navigate expectations of AAA in 2022, a Sleepy Boy rant. I was very tired when I was complaining about this with Ryder in a stream, and I decided to share it because I felt like it was relevant to all the NFT talk that's been happening. It's something that I've been talking about a lot on the channel. And I put it out there, and a couple of you had some stuff to say. Before I read these, though, and we've talked about it before, but briefly, what's your thoughts on NFTs in gaming specifically, not just NFTs?
I mean, I'll just be specific with NFTs. Fuck them. Get them out of here.
All right. I mean, that's fair. I don't really have to dive in too deep on that because it's pretty blunt. So, all right. I pretty much feel the same. I'm a little curious about some things you could do with them later on, but yeah, as of right now, it's not the right time to be trying to implement this, especially in this. I didn't mention this in my rant. I also think it's like really fucking insulting, the whole like push of NFTs. If you like are like, hey, we're gonna fuck around with NFTs maybe, but when you're like, hey, you should buy these. Hey, you should buy these. Hey, you're not buying them. Well, you just don't understand this shit. That's what you like. You don't get how fucking exciting this is. You don't understand the opportunities you can have with NFTs. Like the guy from Ubisoft was saying. And it's like, you understand the last 2 years have been really fucking crazy for everybody. And that has affected people financially. I mean, people are unemployed and fucking struggling, inflation, all that shit. I'm not trying to get political, but like fucking, what a weird fucking time to be like pushing new ways to get money from people. Like, way to fucking pick your timing.
I would say, I'm sure... for some people they can see like, you know, benefits, all this stuff, but and not to speak for a bunch of people, but I assume a bunch of people feel this way. All I see is rich people finding another way to get rich. That's all it comes off as.
Yeah.
It doesn't come off as beneficial in any way. It literally comes off as the next version of microtransactions. It comes off as just another way to like throw some buzzwords at you so you'll spend some money on something and give you this false sense of ownership because they can do whatever the fuck they want at any time. It's annoying. Also, in a time where hardware shortages are the norm, you want to push something that's going to require hardware. So
Yeah, the whole thing's a flop and should be. All right, well, you guys have heard our opinions on this, and I'm sure we could talk about it at any point when it gets brought up, but I just kind of wanted to fill in that point that I've made before, but not on the show, that I think it's really weird that their timing. The whole thing's just so not finger on the pulse. It's so disconnected from the average person. Especially when a lot of people don't know what NFTs are, and they're like, what do you want me to buy from you? Like, I don't even get it. Like, fucking, it's stupid. So anyway, we got a couple comments. They're big ones, so we're going to get into this. The first one is from Stick. And Stick says, I honestly like this tasty bit thing, especially if it's an interesting discussion point on the topic of hype or for the AAA space. I feel fortunate in that I enjoy a variety of games, so there are usually games that I am confident will be good and hype myself up for them. I still always wait for reviews before pre-ordering anything. I have been burnt before, even with good reviews. Both Doom Eternal and Mortal Kombat 11 had great reviews from trusted sources, but I didn't like those games, so I ended up moving on and focusing my attention onto other games I do enjoy. I feel this month alone has two possible game of the year contenders. I think Elden Ring will be one of the most unique takes on open world design. I should probably tackle this one first.
Yeah.
First off, I'm glad you enjoy the Tasty Bit thing. If you're curious about other Tasty Bits, Tasty Bit is essentially something I've used for a long time for things that don't fit are scheduled shows. So if I just have like a random thing that I'm like, this isn't a Tasty Cast, it's not a TLG Reacts, it's not a blah, 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 blah. I just say Tasty Bit because it's a random thing. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I would be willing to do more Tasty Bits on random topics like this. But it is just kind of a placeholder for that kind of thing. As for pre-ordering based off reviews, trusted sources, and then being burnt by that, I mean, I get that. I typically don't let reviews alter my view on something. I do use the aggregate as a way to test the direction where the wind's blowing, though. I still have my strong opinions, and if I'm like super hyped about a game and I'm hearing like mediocre things about something, I'll probably still check it out. But if I'm hearing like really good things about something I'm really hyped for, it's just like, okay, like for sure this is really good. But individual reviews, it's hard for any of those to have much sway on my opinion. I kind of backed away from that years ago because more and more, I don't think the reviewers at these publications are, they're not personalities or minds that I either appreciate or respect. So it doesn't mean much to me anymore. And then as for Elden Ring, I think it's going to be unique for sure, but it definitely is like, oddly enough, borrowing a lot from Breath of the Wild, which I think is kind of smart because it has an interesting system of go wherever and do whatever. But it's definitely going to be very unique because it's the only open world game that's a Dark Souls game. So that's going to be fun. Do you have anything to add to that, Chevy?
Just the stance on like buying / pre-ordering games. I also almost never pre-order games. I still haven't pre-ordered Horizon. I probably will just buy it the moment it releases.
I haven't either, but I feel like I need to buy it so I can pre-download it.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I want to buy it right now, so I can just get it downloaded.
I'll be at work, so I can just buy it on my phone and
that's
whatever.
True.
But
yeah.
I've just gotten to the point, and I'll obviously to each their own. But you know, with the amount of people who complain about unfinished games coming out all the time, you're incentivizing them to keep doing it by buying the game before it's out. So, just a thought.
What a great point. I know that 100%. I've preached it a million times, like in real life, but I think that's very important that like the amount of people I know who pre-order, and some people have their reasons or whatever, and I'm not going to judge anybody for pre-ordering, but
for sure.
You are paying the industry before they've given you a product. And so if they can reliably assume you're going to give them money before they give you the product, they don't have to be as sharp about releasing a game that's going to meet expectations.
It doesn't have to hit the wow factor. It just has to maybe not piss you off. They just have to convince you to pay them for the game before you play it. And so yeah, it does muddy the waters in that pursuit of, hey, let's get some finished games. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. As far as the Elden Ring thing goes, I'm looking forward to the release of it as much as I probably won't play it. Though if it does have no BS multiplayer and I keep hearing it's not as difficult, I mean I'm trying to keep an open mind and my eye on it because I don't want to say no, but I just also know myself. So, but I do think it's going to be an amazing game, and I honestly do think it is absolutely going to be a Game of the Year contender. I think we're going to have a hard time picking this year for Game of the Year. There's too many big games coming out.
Well, I will for sure, but like as like a more like the cultural gaming zeitgeist, I think if God of War indeed comes out this year, I think God of War will win Game of the Year, but I think Elden Ring will absolutely be a contender for it.
100%.
More than Forbidden West.
Yeah.
But we'll find out as that comes out. But Elden Ring 100% is going to be like a strong contender. We haven't even played it, but we all know it's going to be a strong contender, top 2, top 3 for Game of the Year easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, continuing on, Stick says, on Bethesda, I have no reason to feel confident on Starfield until we actually see it. I agree. Preach, dude. One thing to mention, however, is I believe the main game studios did very little on Fallout 76. That was the Austin team and not the main team. Yep. The last game the main team did was Fallout 4. I know Starfield is Todd Howard's dream game, and he wanted to wait until technology progressed well enough to meet his dream and vision. So he's making Avatar. He's James Cameron. The issue, however, is that I doubt tech has reached his vision, and if they got so far into development and found out they will have to scale back on ideas that will really hamper the experience, I'm hoping they hit it out of the park without needing to compromise on their vision. I still feel the game will have a lot of bugs, but hopefully it can be as mind-blowing as previous Bethesda games. One thing I have to add to that is I do want Starfield to be a good game. And I hope it is revolutionary and they knock it out of the park. That would be fucking amazing. Bethesda's track record has not shown me that that's going to happen, but they've not made something for long enough now that I don't know what to expect from them. The thing I can reliably expect from them is that we're going to get something on the fucking same engine they've been using forever with very similar systems that they've been doing forever. But Starfield being a new IP and not hearing from them in terms of tech and what they've been working on, not seeing the game, leaves a lot of questions in the air for me that makes me, I wouldn't say hyped, but has me very interested. Regardless if this game comes out and looks like shit or looks amazing, both those are very interesting things for me. So I am absolutely keeping my eye on Starfield. But I agree with you 100% in your first sentence. I can't be confident at all until we see it. Concepts all day. You can tell me this is your fucking dream game and you had to wait to make this game and it's gonna do this and that and this is what concept art of what ships look like, stuff like that. Show me the fucking game, right? Like all that stuff could not translate to whatever the final product is. So until we see it, I cannot generate any kind of hype outside of I wonder what Bethesda's cooking up now. That's it. That's all I got for that. But hopefully it is good. I want good games. And I want Bethesda to make good games again. Because they used to be like somebody I got really fucking... Like when Oblivion was coming out, dude, I was like so fucking excited for that game. Because I love Morrowind so much. It's crazy how excited I was for that game. Skyrim, not so much. And I played and beat it and it was fine. But I'm not one of these Skyrim guys. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, Bethesda doesn't really make games for me, so it's kind of hard for me to have any excitement for anything they do. Outside of they are publishing Ghostwire, and I am kind of keeping my eye on that one. So
yeah, but Tango Gameworks is making that.
Yes. That's why I specified publishing it. But yeah, outside of that, like I don't play games made or published by them really. They kind of fit into a certain category of games that I don't play. So
you don't log in every night to do your dailies in Fallout 76? If it has dailies, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't even touch that game, especially because I didn't like Fallout 4 either. So I also barely played New Vegas. I wasn't fond of that one either. I'm sure people are going to hate to hear that. But
well, it's funny because when that game came out, everybody fucking hated it. And then years later, it was like, that game was really good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, I liked Fallout 3 a little bit.
I liked Fallout 3. I thought Fallout 3 was fucking dope.
I
thought New Vegas was cool.
I liked Skyrim when it came out.
Yeah, it was fun enough.
And then I beat it and I was done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done with the game. I don't replay those games. Oblivion, I played and beat. I'm done with it. So, yeah. That's pretty much it.
I was going to say I replayed Morrowind way more than I replayed Skyrim, but what I mean to say by that is I replayed Morrowind more times in the time that Skyrim had released than I played Skyrim, not including all the times I played it in the past.
Yeah.
That's how good a game that is. Anything else?
No.
All right, and then the last part of his comment says the whole NFT gaming thing should fall apart, especially with enough backlash. I feel most companies might try to do something small or make mention of NFTs to try and please investors. The backpedal when fans hate on the practice. Also, your idea of virtual real estate reminded me of that old game Entropia universe that had the higher real money exchanges between players. Oh, it's coming, dude. There's already scams out there that are trying to sell you little blocks of real estate. But that will be a thing for sure. I mean, really, the whole NFT thing is inevitable in virtual worlds because you're going to have to create digital scarcity. And the only way you can do that is through the blockchain, making sure that there is some kind of ledger saying that this only exists in its capacity this one time or this 5 times. And that has to be able to be provable. And so when you're talking about buying digital properties in a way that people really feel like they fucking own it and they can actually prove that they own it, it's going to be a thing for sure. But yeah, when people are trying to sell you assets in the game like skins and stuff like that, and mark my fucking words, they're gonna try and sell you fucking shit in games. Like you're the guy who owns the fucking beanie that the main character wears. It's bragging rights. It's like owning like a first edition Charizard. Like you're the guy who fucking has it.
And there are people who will eat that up.
And there's people who are gonna be like, dude, I own that. And it's like, it'll bring up some weird legal things of like, well, in what capacity you own it? Can Ubisoft still use that property or that model after you bought it? Who knows? But if you're already creating a game and you can sell these digital assets off in a way that people can go like, oh, I own this, there's digital scarcity, this is mine, they're going to do it. Why wouldn't they? That's just more money they can make off something they're already making. And NFTs will allow that. So I do agree, though. Backlash for sure. And we've already seen huge pushback on it. And everyone who brings up NFTs is universally among all gamers. Doesn't matter what console or PC or whatever the fuck you play on. And places like IGN and GameSpot and Kotaku are against it too. So I'm like, you know, we can all be allies right now. That's fine. I brought up Troy Baker. You know, I don't have anything against him. I think Troy Baker's obviously one of the best voice actors in gaming right now. But he dabbled in it, and people were like, "What the fuck you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I rethought it. I'm not going to do it." Yeah. You know, anyone who dabbles with it,
you're seeing companies outright. I don't know what word I'm looking for now. Say they're saying they're gonna have nothing to do with them. So you're seeing
Chucklefish one of them.
Yeah, and a bunch of other like small to mid-sized devs are just kind of like saying no to them.
And then Team 17, after coming out, there's like this whole like
kind of aggressive about it.
Well, there's like this sexual harassment thing going on in their company and like people being underpaid. And during that shit's happening, while that shit's happening, they came out and they're like, "We got NFTs we're gonna sell." And people are like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you trying to destroy your company?
Pay for lawyers?"
Yeah, maybe. The lawyers are NFTs, dude.
I hate it.
Especially when AR comes in, dude, and everybody's got fucking glasses on that see things, and people are using Instagram filters in real life. Like, you're going to look at people, and they're going to have an Instagram filter or whatever, and people are going to own digital NFTs in AR. It's like, that's the future. It's coming.
For you guys, not for me.
Yeah, I don't want it. But it's coming, dude.
I'll say I'll be a boomer on that one.
Imagine you're driving down the same road you've drove down a million times, and next to the McDonald's, there's just, in AR world, if you have your AR glasses on, there's just like a giant T-Rex standing next to it. And someone's like, "Who put the T-Rex here?" And someone's like, "Oh, it's mine. That's my NFT. Like, I own that. I bought it from a dude and I put it here. I bought the plot of land, the digital plot of land. Like McDonald's owns this in real life, but in the digital world, this is my area. I own that NFT."
It's so fucking dumb.
It's, dude, it's fucking coming, dude.
Sure, I know it is.
People
will be into it. It's
so depressing, but also interesting. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Pushback. This is stuff we don't want in our games, and I already said I reject it. I'm not going to support it. So
I think it's just important to know as well, just as a consumer of anything, you have all the power. They don't function.
Yeah, until someone shows up and just takes your money from you, which is a whole different situation. You don't got to give them shit. Don't give them shit. And if they don't get shit, they're not going to do it.
I'll say McDonald's can't force hamburgers on you, as an example. Like, so if the whole world, not going to happen, decided to stop buying McDonald's, they'd fucking change something or they'd go under.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the best example that we've seen outside of the pushback on NFTs, which I'm so happy to see, was when Microsoft tried telling everyone how they were going to use their console, and everyone went, "I'm not doing that." So
yeah, and someone offered an alternative.
Yeah,
and we're like, "I'm going to do that." Speaking of offering things people don't want. Did you see that EA blamed Battlefield's lack of good reception on Halo's multiplayer? They said it was bad timing because they didn't expect Halo's multiplayer to be so good, and it's like,
hey, we fucked up, but it's their fault.
yeah, it's like, how disconnected can you fucking be?
It's just, I don't even know if disconnect as much as it's derailment.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else?
No.
All right. Well, hopefully we addressed everything there, and but that's why I ranted about it, because I was like, this shit's fucking dumb, but it's also kind of fun to talk about for me. But I also hate it. But yeah, thanks for the comment, and really good points you made there, and enough to stir up a whole new conversation that we could devote so much time to. All right, second and last comment is from Tom B, saying, first party will prevail the longest, but also become more rare as time will go on. First Xbox, now Sony, with their timed exclusives. I'll wait for Nintendo first party to drop on PC. Oh yeah, because you mentioned MGS, how about SSBB, etc., dog tag NFTs, or dog tags with special names or abilities, and MGO? F that NFT bullshit. This generation will have the perfect sweet spot on graphics, etc., but market and technology in general is already beyond that, in my opinion. Great topic, by the way. State of gaming in general going forward would fit your show perfectly. I mean, maybe. I mean, in that regard, it would be kind of interesting to talk about the state of gaming every once in a while, and just kind of let loose on my thoughts on it. I love that both of you saw this clip, and I'm like, I really appreciate it. And you both were like, "Hey, this would be a cool thing," and I'm like, "How can I make this into a thing?" Because that was just me being tired and complaining. With Ryder, shout out to Ryder. Let's see. Edit. Oh, and Sifu is really dope. The animations with heart eyes for anybody who doesn't see what I'm saying. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. I still gotta play it. I told you on stream earlier today I'm gonna play it, so you know I haven't played it yet, but I still gotta play it. I'm very excited to play it. And then I'm going to continue. He has another part of this real fast. Just showed a friend of mine this vid, and I noticed the mistake in my comment. I meant that this gen would have been the perfect sweet spot in graphics and sound, etc., under last gen market conditions. Okay, that's an interesting clarification. That's why it is so frustrating for me, because now we got into the level of technology where I think we would all agree that it's capable of everything now, but the damn market goes away from quality just at the time where we have the level of capabilities. Oh, and because you also mentioned GTA 6, yeah, graphics world, sure, but since Dan and Laszlo left after Red Dead Redemption 2, as you know, Dan wrote all the dialogue of their games by himself, and Laszlo wrote the radio chatter and responsible for the soundtrack. Yeah, his brother Sam's still they're holding the majority of the company, but who can replace Dan and Laszlo? So even GTA 6, I'm not hyped because of that. Sure, will look good as fuck, but everything else, the social commentary, dark humor, etc., will feel completely different. Starting there, I agree in the sense that when I heard that people were leaving, like key people from Rockstar, that always worries me. Even if like two people work on a game, one guy leaves, you're going to notice. Because the creative minds that created the thing that you initially were into is going to be changed. And so, yeah, I am kind of worried about that. But we'll see. But at the very least, though, we know Rockstar technologically does some really amazing things. So hopefully it doesn't affect it too negatively, but we're also seeing a huge priority of supporting their online component and less on their single player components. And I feel like that's probably going to be going forward, although RDO, they're not supporting that much, which kind of sucks. But GTA's making, or GTAO's making so much money.
Service games are piggy banks. So
yeah, exactly. So that is concerning for sure. So I agree with your concerns on that. And then let's see, when you said perfect sweet spot in graphics and sound, etc., under the last gen market conditions. And I think this is in response to when I was saying that there's almost like a reset happening right now. Like graphics and everything have gone up, but the things that we expect from games of last generation, they're not able to meet. And it's almost like the production has become too much for them to do what we're expecting with the graphics and ray tracing and you know, the bigger wants and needs of people who support these games. And so, yeah, I do think you got kind of a point of like, it is almost like, you know, everything is modern except for it's still under this assumption of like last gen, but they're not able to nail it. They're not doing it more and more and more, especially with AAA, because they have this expectation of like, we got to make these big, huge games, but they can't do them anymore. They need to spend more time, but that's not going to happen because they're on those fucking schedules that they used to be on, and they want to keep fucking making that same money they're making.
I think we need to take into consideration as well through the launch of this generation. Most of the work conditions have changed for a lot of these people too, so that's going to be a huge hiccup.
I think that excuse.
I do think that is going to elongate our life cycle of these consoles, and the progress that we should see now is 2 years behind, is what I just think. So we'll see it, but I don't think we're going to see it until like 2024. So
interesting. That'll be interesting to see. I do agree, and I've said that for a while now too. With the last 2 years, things have been difficult for sure. I think that a lot of lessons were learned though, even like halfway through 2020. And a lot of adjustments happened in 2021. And I know there's difficulty still, but I think we're starting to get to the point where all the games that are being released now from that cycle, I don't think that excuse is going to have much weight moving forward.
But there's still delayed games.
There still are, for sure.
The entire spectrum of what we were supposed to have got pushed back. We lost time. It's gone.
Yeah.
And I only say this from the perspective of Final Fantasy XIV as an example, when the devs were super transparent about why delays and quality changes and stuff like that initially. They basically said the schedule's just going to have to change. Yeah. That's just the way it is. And we're never going to be able to catch up. The calendar just is here now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, I was excusing so many of the delays that so many people were so upset when they're hearing about delays in 2021. I'm like, 2022 is the year, man. Like, fucking 2021 was recovery year, and a lot of people weren't able to do it in that time.
Say we're getting the 2020 and 2021 games now.
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
Yeah.
They just aren't coming out those years.
Yeah.
So,
on top of a new generation of consoles that they have to try and meet,
and hardware shortages.
Yeah.
On top of trying to figure out how to make enough stuff for gamers and the people who do crypto, though I did see recently, I guess Intel's new processors will have a crypto mode in them, essentially.
Yeah, but people are going to fucking get past that.
No. For crypto to try to get people to stop buying GPUs.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought it was something that's supposed to like counter it, because I had heard a while back that somebody was going to make cards that couldn't be used for crypto, but I'm like, that's not fucking possible.
NVIDIA did a slowdown. It wasn't a stop. It was it would know what it was being used for and essentially throttle it. I don't know if that ever actually came to fruition or not. So,
yeah, they need to address like that they know people are going to do this, so you need to make it like less energy or something like that.
Yeah, one, it just sounds like Intel's doing the if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's what you got to do, pretty much. So, but yeah, and all that stuff you said, I mean, aside from the last 2 years, I don't think a lot of that excuses 2042's bad landing, because
I don't think EA gets excuses most of the time, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I do think it's a really good point, for sure. And I agree with most of it, right? But some of that, I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense in a lot of ways. But, I mean, it's complicated, so. And then going back to your original part, I hate everything you're saying about the Metal Gear Solid dog tag NFT thing. I mean, like, it's a good idea if you're somebody who's trying to just fucking suck the funnel all the money from your fans.
It's a dead series with a company. They don't give a fuck. Why wouldn't they do it?
But so it'd be great for them. But as a big fan of MGS, that just ain't it. That ain't it, Chief. I don't like it. And yeah, I think that's about everything. And I will think about doing like a state of gaming thing, maybe. I'd have to brainstorm that. I don't like to introduce new shows so easily, but there might be something there. Give me an excuse to rant about shit too, possibly. You wouldn't have to be there. I know
Honestly, I'm not super interested in that idea.
Exactly. I know. So I'm saying I'll just stand in the corner and fucking yell for an hour. That's too much. I can do it in 15 minutes.
I already say this whole
it's
not your guys' fault.
Well,
either,
it's
by
because
the
the episode I fucking put out.
The topic,
Yeah.
I find it irritating and honestly just don't want to talk about that much. So
Yeah, that's fair. Anything else?
thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the comments. Thank you for watching that. Thank you for the 122 people who watched that. That's cool. And again, thank you for Ryder for talking with me about that, because without him, this conversation wouldn't have took
What I was
place.
trying to say is this is your fault.
Yeah, this is your fault. Although he changed his name to Ryder because you called him out about the writer's block thing.
I'm flattered.
So he's not writer's block anymore. He's a writer now.
A writer of what?
That comment that you fucking brought up, doesn't have writer's block for. But anyway, thank you everybody for the comments. Thank you everybody who watched. And again, if you want your comment on the show, type in hashtag STLG. Otherwise, I pick at random. But that's going to do it for this Tasty Cast. It was a long one for sure. This is a lot longer than I thought it was going to go. But yeah, as always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to check out our other episodes. Check us out on our socials and streams. Links down below. I have been streaming again slightly, and I'm going to try and do it more, but I have been doing it. So stay tuned for that. We have a Discord link down below. You can talk to us anytime, all the time. Our Lost Ark section is in there in case you want to talk Lost Ark with us. We are currently playing Lost Ark and talking about it. And we have Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel, more than liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. If you're brand new, did I miss something? Oh, we're on podcast platforms. iTunes, Spotify, everything that you listen to podcasts on, we are on. So if you want to listen to us, you can do that as well. Chevy, thank you for joining me on this episode. And Seth, thank you for joining me on this episode. You're welcome. And thanks, guys. And until the next episode, have a good one and take it easy.